We're proud to bring you this live presentation on Racer TV of the 50th anniversary of the Progressive Grand National Cross Country Series, presented by Specialized, an AMA National Championship. 50 years of world premier off-road racing. 50 years of battling the gnarliest woods racing on the planet. It's time to start a new chapter. The next 50 years starts now.
Ironman Raceway in Crawfordsville, Indiana, the absolute spot to be in 2025. If you're racing off-road, if you're racing moto, this is where it's at. And this weekend, it is the Hoosier GNCC as Ben Kelly comes in with the points lead, but it's the big 5-1-4 of Stu Baylor who comes in with a win and a glimmer of hope in the championship hunt. It all starts right here, right now on RacerTV.com. Are you ready to go GNCC racing? Craig DeLong, Johnny Gerard, mano y mano.
I think if Johnny can maybe send it around the outside like he's trying to do there.
Look at that. That is a full XC1.
Is this a NASCAR race?
Absolutely a sensational. When things get tough, look out for Jordan Ashburn.
Racing dirt bikes, it's a lifestyle. It's something where every single choice you make sets you on the path to how you're going to succeed or perform. You live this every second of the day.
Stu hauling the mail.
Stu is one of the most gritty riders out there.
There is Gerard. Johnny Gerard, he has been stellar. Most wins on the season out of anybody.
Nick DeFeo also has a 50-some-odd second advantage.
Are you kidding me? T-Rex, the 246. Nick DeFeo, you're going down in the GNCC history books, man.
I just like riding my dirt bike. Johnny out front, Caleb pushing as hard as he can. This is everything they have. That was a battle.
That was a hell of a ride by both of those men. Like he's got a cougar on the back of the bike.
Stu Baylor taking the inaugural Talladega GNCC win.
3 hours is a long time. 3 hours of racing is gnarly. I know I can show up and I know I can win on any given week.
Round number 7, we have made it to the halfway point of the season. Johnny Gallagher, two-wheel racing today, and coming into this one, it is Stu Baylor coming off a much-needed win, and Ben Kelly, who is still our points leader, not having the best day, and suddenly it looks like the guys in first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, they have a realistic shot at this championship now, Johnny.
Yeah, you know, what looked to be maybe starting to form up as a two-horse race between our XC1 and overall points leader Ben Kelly and our XC2 points leader Grant Davis is now turning into more of a battle amongst some other riders in the mix there. You've got Gus Reardon and obviously Stu Baylor with his win. Now within 30 points of the lead. That's one race. Now we're back in the mix here. So it's definitely been an exciting evolution here this last couple rounds, and obviously with the last round being a mud race, Ben Kelly all the way back in that number 11 spot, a very costly points day, still holding on to that overall points lead, but seeing that gap shrink a little bit.
That is certainly the case. The weather that you'd mentioned, the mud race a couple of weeks ago, not going to be the case today. We are going to see some high speeds, some dust, some wind, all of those things, but the man in control of that points championship still is Ben Kelly. He did what he needed to do to kind of go into that salvage mode, and he is definitely focused coming in here to the Hoosier. We had a chance to catch up with Ben Kelly prior to today's race.
Yeah, we've been here enough to where we've raced in these types of conditions. It's even been, drier and dustier before, and I think we're going to be okay. Parts of it are going to be pretty dusty and silty, but most of it's going to be pretty good. And, the past few years, I feel like this track's been a lot faster than, it used to be. It's just, I guess, the way the dirt is shaping up and riding all the same trails and, the quads packing it in. So, yeah, it's definitely fast, but has good flow. The corners still build up some good berms. You can get out of the bumpy stuff, and yeah, it's gonna be gnarly. You're gonna have to be on your toes. But yeah, like I said, my bike works well in these conditions, so I always end up doing well. So looking forward to it.
Well, good to hear from Ben Kelly. Obviously, very focused on maybe turning things around a little bit, gain back some more control in this championship hunt. But Man, every time, Johnny, we start to count out Stu Baylor, we've both been guilty of it. He comes out with a win, and just suddenly he's back in the conversation.
Yeah, 2025 has been a challenge. I mean, with 2 DNFs already this season, it was a question of, can he get back in this championship hunt? And the answer is a resounding yes. After a great performance at our last round, topping the field, max 30 points. Again, his the championship points leader, Ben Kelly, with an 11th place finish. Stu Baylor back in the mix, and we had an opportunity to catch up with him to get his thoughts on how the season's going and coming off that big win just 2 weeks ago.
5 years ago, if you looked at some of these exact rounds and put yourself 3 minutes behind, you were still on the podium. Like, not 15th, 18th, 20th. I mean, it's just craziness. Like, it's the group's gotten so much tighter, and it's wild to even think that there can be that type of inconsistency. But when the classes have gotten this stacked, and I think the field is this deep, it's easy to see.
All right, well, Stu Baylor, never short on words. Love hearing from Stu, and certainly, man, we cannot count out here. And what's interesting, our producer Adam Gordon mentioned this yesterday a little bit. That battle in 2021, it actually came down to Ironman at the end of the season between Ben Kelly, between Stu. So they've got some history on this property. Maybe that's lingering in the back of their minds a little bit as we enter today's race. But nonetheless, we're going to have a great race today. We've bench raced enough. We want to see what these guys are going to face. How different is this track compared to the Ironman we run here at the end of the year? For that, we'll throw it to Jackson Burrell, who stands by with our trail boss, Jared Bolton, for a Yamaha Racing track description.
All right, thanks, guys. I'm down here with Jared Bolton on the prestigious Ironman Raceway motocross track here for the Hoosier GNCC. Jared, take us through what we can expect.
Oh, man, it's the Hoosier. It's not the Ironman, but you get some of that familiar Ironman stuff. You get the uphills, the downhills, you get the creek crossings, and, of course, the famous Ironman dirt. It's really good stuff out here. And then, of course, worked in a little bit of the Ironman motocross track into it. We've got Pro Motocross Series coming up in August, and then, of course, for the first time ever, Motocross Nations coming up in October. So pretty cool to give the guys something a little special that the best racers in the world are going to be on out here soon, and a little something different for the Hoosier.
There we go, guys. Back up to you.
All right, thank you for that track description there, Jackson and Jared. We've seen what the track's going to look like. We've talked to the riders involved. We're going to bring all of the racing action live to you on Racer TV right after this.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? I don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized e-turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com. Get ready. Begin to take their spots on row number 1. A quick reminder to all of our spectators out there, you must be behind the white stringer line at the start
Again, must be behind the white stringer line. I think about 99.9% of you have done a fantastic job, and for that, we thank you. If you see somebody on the other side of it, say, hey, homie, back that thing up. Now DJ Judd jumps into the Yamaha R Max 1000. And this is where we like to say, DJ Judd, remove the beat. As DJ Judd makes his way off of the starting line and Willie moves 35,000 e-bikes out of the way because they're expensive and nobody wants theirs crushed. It's okay, you guys didn't know there'd be a big ole mobile entertainment activation transport rolling through there. Ricky Towery now steps out on the track and he lets our riders know 1 minute. 1 minute. A Landers KTM Whole Shot Award up for grabs for the XC1 Pro Class. Stu Baylor comes into it off of a big win, but it's Ben Kelly who hangs on for the points lead. But not a great race in round number 6 for Kelly. Can he rebound here today? And there it is. Blue flag waves, blue flag waves. Shut him down, shut him down, shut him down. As we get ready to roll, I got to ask you, Indiana, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Oh, that's pretty good. But if you are Indiana born and bred, you know there is no place in the world better to be in the month of May than the state of Indiana. So you got to get loud and proud. I'm going to ask you one more time. Are you ready to go GNCC racing? 10 seconds for row number 1, the XC1 Pro. Bang, and they're off. Ben Kelly out in front. The number 530 goes a little wide. It's going to set him up on the inside, but no, it's going to be Stu Baylor, the 514 out in front with Jordan Ashburn in the 2 spot and Caleb Russell in 3rd on the inside as they head off into the woods. Oh, we got a good one. No mud. We're not talking weather today. Is it dusty? Yes. We got a good little wind. Should not be a factor. And if it's anything like yesterday, we're going to see some tight racing through the checkered flag. We reset the deck with the XC2 250 Pro Class, a Landers KTM Whole Shot Award up for grabs as Ricky Towery keeps his eyes on the watch and time. Angus Reardon, Josh Toth, Toby Cleveland, Brody Johnson, T-Rex Nick DeFeo. 10 seconds. Row number 2, the XC2. Hunter Bush, Mike DeLosa, Dakota DeVore, Jack Walker, Grant Davis, and Cody Barnes. Grant Davis with a good drive up the inside, but it is Angus Reardon. And now side by side, and Angus Reardon grabs a whole shot and early lead, and it was Gus Reardon talking before the race saying, I feel like I'm overlooked, man. I'm in this thing for the XC2. He is in it for the overall. Is today his day? 10 seconds. XC3 125 Pro-Am LoJack Cycle Sales Whole Shot Award up for grabs. James Simpson, Isaiah Brown, Rayleigh Messer, James Jenkins, Hunk Jenkins, Jason Crawford, and Jonathan Johnson. And the 337 of James Jenkins out of House Springs, Missouri on the Marionville Power Sports and JDP suspension back ride. Grabbing that whole shot. 10 seconds. 250A, Colton Shields, Cooper Jones, Ryan Piper, Gavin Simon, Chase Landers, Collier Martinez, Will Siebenpiper, Caleb Baltimore, Lane Whitmer, Hunter Smith, and Joe Cunningham. 254. No, it's going to be the 220. That is Cooper Jones taking his lunch money. The rider out of Lawton, Pennsylvania. On the FMF back, KTM grabbing an early lead and whole shot. Open A, 10 seconds. Keaton Coleman, Kiefer Galliano, Van Adams, TJ Brown, Benjamin Ward, Garrett Mundy, Ty Ely, Trevor Hewlin, Chad Toad, Davin Cocker, Cole Whitmer, Keenan Rupp, Matt Reimer, Steve Venlo, and Hayden Jones. Absolutely no doubt about that one. A whole shot machine. That was Cole Whitmer on the gas. Grabbing a whole shot and early lead right there. 4-stroke A-lights. 10 seconds. Joshua Connor, Logan Pellegrini, Brady Beerbaum, Ryan Amancio, Bryce Woodrum, Braden Baisley, Tyler Shields, Tucker Kenry, Rivers Morris, Lane Smith, Colin Johnson, Samuel Hinkle, Brody Amos, Wade Tucker, Caleb Wood, Jacob McPherson. And it's the 408 on the helmet. Might have been a 405 on the helmet of Brody Amos. It's a wee bit dusty. Couldn't quite see if that was a 5 or an 8. Little pile up, but everybody clean through turn number 3. And Ricky says, here we go. 10 seconds. 150A. Michael Meyer. Lucas Rubenstein, Colby Goodman, Davin Scheich, Ryder Segedy, Cade Probst, Easton Uplinger, Jaden Hamilton, Joe Shriver, and Braden Hashman. Around the first turn, and the number 31, that's going to be the 418 on the helmet. That is Ryder Segedy out of New Jersey on that Ampro-backed Yamaha. Grabbing that early lead right there. A little time to make up for the 2-2-3. 10 seconds. Junior A, 25 plus. Mario Tonchev, Russell Smith, Travis Hardcastle, Christopher Fisher, Chase Ewell, Shane Wicker, Hayden Dillon, Caleb Hagan, Joshua Thack, Aaron Higgins, Peyton Harden, Corey Jordan, and Andrew Boggs. That looked, man, 5-3, maybe 5-2-2. Couldn't quite make out the helmet sticker on that one. Good fight nonetheless. 10 seconds. Vet A, 30 plus. Robbie Norwood, Michael Jarosco, Jeff Werner, Thomas Wagner, Luke Lockhart, Danny Hoff, Andrew Dampier, Ryan Casemeyer, Gregory Funk. Who's got the funk? You guys already know Gregory got the funk. Matt Modick, Shane O'Banion, and Anthony Wagler. And that's going to be, man, maybe 8-3-7. Shane O'Banion. It was a 7. I caught the last digit on the helmet sticker. It's getting fuzzy. 10 seconds. Senior A, 40 plus. Pete Petrucci, Fernando Pino, Joe Marsh, Miss Lino Batista, James Bauer, Sean Jackson, Jason Memilar, Matt Sorgi, David Garsk, Brandon Cook, and Darren Darnos. No doubt about that. Cowie out in front. 3-6-5 of James Bauer out of Elizabeth, Pennsylvania. Grabbing that whole shot. An early lead. 10 seconds. 250B. Devin Moore, Lennox Riley, Brandon Bailey, Landon Phillips, Gage Clayton, Dylan McDonald, Colby Tucker, Gabriel Davis, Michael Sturrock, Ryan Sweat, Philip Likens, and Mason Sakanikis. Wide around the inside, sets him up on the inside. Oh, but no. That's going to go to the 079 of Devin Moore out of Queensville on the DCM Motorsports and Country Corners Racing backed Gas with that whole shot in early lead. Open B. 10 seconds. Nate Garrison, Cody Harding, Cameron Linden, Blake Freiberger, Tyler Sampson, Keegan Storms, Mark Cole, Davey Souza, Colton Painter, and Luke Thurfield. Riders check up just a wee bit, not a lot of it, just a little bit. 3-3-3 out in front, and it's a 3. Man, it looked like 3. And that is a 3-3-3. Blake Freiberger out of Shamokin, Pennsylvania, putting that Focus SX gear on display. 10 seconds. 4-stroke B lights. Joseph Shilot, Justin Young, Carlo Cleary, Ryan Glassmeyer, Matt Gray, Owen James, Kid Norris, Preston Horton, and Spencer Knight. And the 3-3-4 with a little checkup from the neck up to say, hey, how you doing? That's Carlo Cleary out of Pennsylvania on that Podium Works and Mobile Fleet Wash back ride. Grabbing that one. 10 seconds. 150B. Nico Pursuti, Levi Wilkins, Isaac Leitner, Charlie Simpson, Julian Loy, and Hayden Newsom. Buzz, buzz. Not too many sounds better than that right there. If you disagree, well, you're wrong. Number 400, that is Levi Wilkins out of Pride, Louisiana. And they're throwing him a parade down there. They're so stoked on it down in Louisiana. How about it? 10 seconds. Junior B, 25 plus. Deacon Grady, Dylan Kinsel, Judson Bogus, Dustin Anderson, Jaden Schlegel, Austin Belaski, Zach Weaver, Walker Hashman, and Alex Stoner. I think that's a 779 out front, 778 on the machine, but it's going to be the 730, and it's going to be the 363 on the helmet. That is Dylan Kinsel with that whole shot right there. Vet B, 30 plus, 10 seconds. Alex Grunder, Logan Vaughn, Joseph Ward, Stephen Harlow, Brian Kelsey. Getting shots are John Keene, Devin Hall, Nick Lobby, Bo Brummett, Dwayne Jolliffe, Aaron Herbstreet, Tommy Myers, Matthew Sosson, Will Lovell, William Schumacher, and the whole shot to the 4-3-3. Tommy Myers out of Loveland, Ohio, on that ride work suspension back ride. And a little hang up in the second turn. Here we go. 10 seconds. Senior B, 40 plus. Larry Hopper, Brandon Black, Tyler Humphreys, Chris Hart, Jeremy Nance, and Tim Vanlow. All right, looks like all of our riders are off of the start line. Into the first turn we go. Little dab right there. Oh, another dab side by side, and it's going to go to the 3-5-9 of Tyler Humphreys out of Willard, Missouri. And we are off and rolling. A good one out in front. How is it all going to sort out? Championships on the line. We're in the middle of the season, baby. The meat of GNCC. How's it all going to play out? We're going to take a short break, get in a word from our sponsors, and be back with more from the AMSOIL Hoosier GNCC.
Everywhere but the seat. The seat is leather.
Alan, we get it. You love your bike. We do too.
That's why we're America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
But do you have to wedge it into everything?
What? Don't do that. This reminds me of my bike. The Wolf was about the size of my new motorcycle. Have you seen it, by the way? Happy birthday, Grandma!
Really?
Look how the brushstrokes follow the line of the gas tank.
Hey!
Hey! Brought my +1. Jamie.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach.
Take a look.
Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call it a man. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
Whatever you drive, however you drive. AMSOIL specially engineers lubricants to maximize power, performance, and protection in your vehicles, so you can work hard and play hard with confidence. Order online at amsoil.com.
Progressive GNCC Racing is brought to you by
Progressive. Progressive could save you hundreds of dollars on your automobile and motorcycle insurance. Specialized. Specialized E-Turbo bicycles. It's you, only faster. RockyMountainATVNC.com. Get ready.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Round 7 of the 50th Annual Progressive Insurance Grand National Country Racing Series. This is the 2025 AMSOIL Hoosier GNCC. My name is Jackson Burrell. I'm going to be alongside Zach Heron and Johnny G, along with Mikey Waynes, to bring you today's action. Boys, it's good to be back here in Indiana and racing some dirt bikes.
Yeah, and nice to have a dry race as well, Jackson. We've been talking about it. A little bit of different set of skills being brought out here, and it's a welcome difference here at GNCC Racing. The dry, the dust. And, Johnny, you actually get to go out there and race a little earlier today, and we were just talking off camera. Not quite as dry and dusty as a lot of people might think.
No, actually, that little bit of rain that we got on Friday night, combined with the fact that the moisture coming up out of the ground, it's a phenomenal racetrack, and I think it's going to provide us with some really good racing action here today.
Well, it's certainly going to be fun to watch. Let's take a look at how the race got started with our specialized start recap. Today especially, we know the start is crucial. The riders know it. The fans know it. So a lot of emphasis being put on how this race gets started. Let's show you what went down in our XC1 Pro class as everyone was jockeying for position going into turn 1, and a little bit of bumping and grinding, which we saw yesterday as well. Ben Kelly led them into turn 1, but Stu Baylor actually cut underneath on that Rocky Mountain Red Bear Kawasaki and would grab the hole shot just in front of Jordan Ashburn. Then Evan Smith and Caleb Russell were side by side, and then look at that. Russell, a little love tap to Ashburn, and actually wound up tipping over himself and losing a ton of ground. Meanwhile, Wachowski up in the mix, Strang as well. Then we see your points leader, Ben Kelly, as they headed off into the woods. We take a look at your XC2 250 Pro. Grant Davis with a good line up the inside, but his teammate, Gus Reardon, faded wide. Wasn't sure if he was going to be able to hang on to it, but he does. Gus Reardon on that Landers Racing KTM going to grab the hole shot. Brody Johnson making some moves around the outside, and then Grant Davis quickly. You could see the sense of urgency right off of the start, slicing and dicing. Almost coming together with Johnson right there. Wants to get in front of this XC2 field and wants to try to chase down the XC1 class. Then we take a look at that XC3 125 Pro Am class. The sweet sound of two strokes headed into turn 1, and it looked like it was going to be one of the Jenkins, and sure enough, little brother James Jenkins on the 337 going to hang on to the lead and grab that hole shot award. Maintained it good. We saw a lot of bar banging in these opening couple of corners, guys. Everybody knows how much the start can do, and I think none of that was clearer than in our XC2 class, where Grant Davis was trying to chase down these guys right here in your XC1 field.
And there it is, your leader, Stu Baylor, making his way with Evan Smith just behind him. Then we see Jordan Ashburn, Josh Strang, Wachowski, Ben Kelly, and then Jesse Ansley joining us again, along with Ricky Russell, Craig DeLong, and, man, a whole group of XC1 riders headed our way.
Yeah, that's, like you said, guys, it's everybody's pretty feverishly trying to get to the front here early, not knowing how the track's going to shape up, and we do know that the field's very dusty. They were able to get some water down, but the woods themselves, good condition. Where it's out and the sun is baking the ground and the wind is drying it out, it's very, very dusty, and if you're further back in the pack, you're going to lose time when you're trying to work your way through. You want to get to the front as quick as you can.
Well, and Johnny, you can attest to this as well. Kind of the best of both worlds. Some high-speed sections, open field sections, but then some actual tight technical stuff and some new stuff as well here in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've raced this property a number of times, obviously, over the years. 2 times, many of the years that we've come here recently, but they've actually found some new ground or some ground that hasn't been used in a while, and it's actually really providing a great racetrack. And now we see our leaders on screen here at the 9-mile marker, and it is still the 514 of Stu Baylor out front. Still the 347 of Evan Smith, hanging tough there in the number 2 spot. A great ride for him early on in this one. Then it's the 3 of Jordan Ashburn, the 530 of Ben Kelly, making grown man moves, getting to the front. Josh Strang next. Then it's Wachowski, Ricky Russell, and see all these guys pretty much flying in formation, but the dust starting to thin things out a little bit, and we'll see from our drone if we can get the rest of the running order.
Kind of peeking their way through here at the 9-mile mark, and this is something that we talked about as looks like we're starting to move. I couldn't tell
that was Caleb Russell, the last one through. Couldn't tell who the rider was in front of him.
And not sure how much you spoke about it, Zach, but actually going down there for Russell off the start, so having a lot of ground to make up.
Grant Baylor. There is Brandon Gregor, however you say it.
Gregoire. From the J-Day Series. Okay, yeah.
Thad Duvall, and there is your XC2 leader, Grant Davis.
Wow.
So he's gotten to the front. He's already made up some ground, and he is right there. That looked like Jesse Ansley. Then it's Gus Reardon, and still Brody Johnson hanging tough. He was looking dicey in those first couple corners, and he has now latched on to the two Landers KTM teammates. And then comes the 99 of Cody Barnes. So that'd be 4th place in your XC2 class. That was one of the two Rocky Mountain Red Mare. And then, well, that one's DeFeo, so the other one must have been Toph. Then it's Toby Cleveland, a rider who maybe a little bit extra pep in his step. When we were here last fall, got his first and only XC2 win in kind of similar conditions to this today. Got out front early and just never looked back, held it all the way to the finish line.
Yeah, such a good point there, Toby Cleveland. You can see the emotion when he came across the line, really been working hard, and still, I think, trying to prove a name for himself here in this XC2 field, doing a great job at it right now. But you do see some of this dust now. The other thing that you see is the wind, Johnny, which is helping this situation. You see how close Grant Davis is to the tail end of a lot of those XC1 riders. But that's helping at least, but it doesn't carry quite as well through the woods.
No, the good thing is, though, in the woods, there is a lot more moisture. It's more protected from the wind and the sun. It's keeping the moisture kind of in the ground, and actually, especially down near where the Ironman Creek runs through, there's actually good moisture coming up out of the ground. It's almost like there's groundwater. A few of the ruts actually had some water in them, which was pretty interesting because we haven't obviously had any rain. But, yeah, when you're out in the open stuff, as long as the wind's blowing and the dust isn't kind of sitting there, you've got some pretty good visibility. But obviously there are times where the wind is either blowing directly with you or at you, and it can kind of get a little dicey, especially you see the track crew doing a great job of marking hazards such as these fence poles and other things like that you wouldn't want to connect with at high speed in the dust.
Well, and something else we talked about was the difference in obstacles that you face in conditions like these. We talked about the high speeds, but you also get a lot of that hard pack, square edge type bumps building up throughout this soil, and it catches a lot of riders off guard because next thing you know, you're sideways and you're going maybe 4th gear through the woods.
Yeah, it's there is a lot of kind of surprises in this racetrack, and the other thing that I will say that we haven't mentioned yet, it's dark in the woods. I don't know if it's just how thick the tree canopy is right now that the sun can't get through, which I guess would probably be the same contributing factor as to why it's able to hold moisture. But I was really surprised when I got into the woods this morning just how dark and shadowy and how many kind of areas where it was difficult to see. Now, as an older gentleman, my vision isn't quite what it used to be, but it was very difficult to define some of the ruts because it is a dark dirt here in Indiana. So it was kind of hard to see the ruts. It was hard to see the square edges, and there was a lot of times where, not only myself but other riders, I could see them getting caught off guard by things just grabbing at the tire.
Well, one thing that is easy to see right now is Stu Baylor trying to make a statement and carry his momentum throughout this 2025 season, looking very racy through those first couple of corners, and here he is, Jackson, checking in for one lap lead.
There it is. Stu Baylor checks in and now going to check out as he heads into lap number 2. Evan Smith still holding solid in that 2nd place position, and they're going to have a few bike links back now until we see the number 3 of Jordan Ashburn holding on to that 3rd place spot. Ben Kelly still going to be your 4th place as he makes his way by. Now going to get a look at our 5th place rider, which is going to be Josh Strang, still holding on to it. Mike Wachowski going to be just behind him. The dust not quite able to catch that one, but back to Stu Baylor, your leader here on the Yamaha Racing Live drone.
Yeah, impressive ride for Evan Smith right now, but really impressed by Ben Kelly. He was on the back end of the XC1 field headed into the woods, made some passes quick, which is so important before they start to spread out and before he has to eat any more dust than is absolutely necessary. But, man, how about it? Evan Smith, you saw get a big kick right there, but he is trying to track down Stu Baylor, not settling in this 2nd place position at all right now.
Yeah, Evan Smith picking up, like we were saying, where his teammate Caleb Russell leaving off. Russell having some trouble there off the start, going down with Jordan Ashburn, and it's going to put him in the tail end of this. So Evan Smith picking up, like I said, where he left off, holding on to that 2nd place spot as now they make their way through the pits.
And you can see looking like they put just a little bit of water down through this section to try to keep some moisture, keep the dust down in the pit area. So some slideways action there for Stu Baylor as he is carving his way through, but all looking good so far at the front of the field for the 514 Stu Baylor.
So here we go back to the mile 1. And Stu Baylor having a great run, but Evan Smith not letting go of him, Zach.
Yep.
He is still right there, just a few bike links back.
And doesn't look like Smith's overriding that AmPro Yamaha at all. Seems to be very in control of things, just kind of cruising, taking a little different lines than Stu Baylor as well. So he's experimenting with where he wants to go, all while keeping Stu Baylor in sight. So good riding right here off the rip for Evan Smith at the moment as they make their way through a little bit of that Ironman Raceway motocross track. And then back across the creek they go. And they're a perfect example of those shadows Johnny was just talking about. I mean, that is a pretty significant difference you can even see on the drone, let alone on the motorcycle at top speed.
Yeah, Zach, that's going to be tricky here for these riders. You mentioned some of the square edge bumps. I actually got to catch up with our second place in our WXC of Corey Steed, and she was saying bike setup going to be crucial for these riders here today, especially on those front forks. There goes our third and fourth place there, Jordan Ashburn.
Looked like that was Strang still right behind them. So the Beta, I think, made a couple of passes and has been holding strong in that, I believe, fifth place spot as they sit physically. But as you see on the side of your screen, Grant Davis out of the XC2 class, your overall leader on adjusted time. Don't think at this point we're surprised to see it anymore. We saw he was right there at the tail end of the pack. And this is just what Grant Davis does.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, interesting, we've got some good battles going on screen, so we'll focus on those. But a little bit of chatter this weekend coming in. I got to over here. I won't mention names, but some things were brought up about, you know, hey, when these XC2 guys are coming up through, there was some seasoned veterans, former race winners in the XC1 that were being asked, like, hey, you know, these guys, when they're catching you for a minute behind, are you letting them by? Because that's the way it used to be. And they just laughed and said, buddy, those are the days past. They're at an advantage starting behind us the way these tracks are developing. We're going to make this difficult for them. We have no interest in helping them out. We're racing each other for overall positions. And some of the old school thought was, well, those guys have caught you. You need to move out of their way. And the XC1 guys are saying, not anymore. You guys want to race with us? You're going to race us. So I think we're going to see this get tougher on these XC2 guys. But obviously, Grant Davis, you know, Gus Reardon, Cody Barnes, these guys, they're seasoned veterans. They battle with these guys in other series, and I don't think they're going to take it laying down either. I think they're going to fight back, and it's going to provide the real winners here are us.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to get to see, you know, really things get exciting.
Yeah, we're walking away with a big trophy without a doubt. And this is something that we talked about at the beginning of the year. The way what was the XC2 class has now developed into a full-on professional class. These riders are spending just as much time training, testing, all of the above that you see in the XC1 rider. And so it's no secret that the XC1 riders are having to treat them just like fellow competitors in their own class, especially considering, like you said, the points based off of overall positions.
So here we go. Stu Baylor back on screen, hop skipping his way through with Evan Smith still following him. Smith, this will be his fourth race here in what will be 7 rounds complete after this one is over. So Smith having to miss those first few races, as now we see Ashburn on screen, still followed closely by Ben Kelly.
Yeah, Ben Kelly sitting in that number 4 spot. Then it's the 7 of Strang sitting there in the number 5 spot looking comfy. Mike Wachowski in 6th. Ricky Russell 7th. And looking like Liam Draper there in the number 8 spot. Just behind him, Craig DeLong in the number 9 spot on that factory Rockstar Husqvarna. And should see our, so there is, looks like Caleb Russell trying to make up some ground after that fall early, and just behind him, not really sure who that was. There's Lyndon Snodgrass. Almost looked like someone on a Honda. Oh, Ryder Lafferty. Ryder Lafferty, okay. Sorry. And then there is your XC2 leader, Grant Davis. There's, looks like Brandon Gregoire, and then Gus Reardon. Just behind him, Grant Baylor back in action for the second race back, I believe. And then there was,
I think it was Thad Duvall,
and Cody Barnes.
So how about Stu Baylor really trying to make a statement early, and we talked about him wanting to carry momentum into this race. We were actually able to catch up with your current XC1 leader, Stu Baylor, coming into this race.
Hoosier's been good to me in the past. I think I've clicked off a couple wins here. It's one of the spring rounds, offering a little bit more moisture in the dirt than that fall round, where it seems we just can't avoid the Dust Bowl, aside from the 1 year in 22, but outside or 21. But outside of that, it's been good to us. This year, not so good. I woke up yesterday and I was sore and couldn't really figure out what was going on. And you know, a lot of people know, like, I've battled with Epstein-Barr for the majority of my career, and it's been flaring up for the last month, roughly, since right before Coker. And yeah, I thought, okay, like, maybe that's what it is. And as the day progressed yesterday, I realized that it's definitely not what it is, and I've hardly come out of the camper this week, so it's been brutal. I'm not really sure what to expect. I just got done trying to make light of the situation with guys over here and basically said, hey, I believed in Santa Claus for 12 years. I just got to believe in myself for 3 hours, and if I can't do that, then we're screwed. So I got to figure out how to make it 3 hours and not go cross-eyed. It's been been a little frustrating. Like even just remembering the track yesterday, it's like blurry. So that's it's part of it. Sucks. Not when you want to happen or have it happen here. Once the championship does start to kind of show light again, but part of it. So we'll see. The track's fast. It's sketchy. There's a lot of stringer out there. The last couple races, it looks like they've done pretty good at opening some lines up here. It's just going to be a no passing free for all. So as long as I can get up front and make sure that nobody can pass me in the fields, and maybe there's a shot, but outside of that, it's going to be a tough day.
Hey, he's doing exactly what he said he needed to do as he leads the way here.
Yeah, absolutely. Pointing out the fact that he didn't feel there was going to be a lot of passing, so what better way to control the pace than to get to the front and make those guys have to work their way by you.
So here we go at the mile 2 mark. No doubt about it. You heard Stu Baylor saying he just had to believe in himself for 3 hours. That's a good way to look at it, as I believe some of our XC2 there making their way by. That possibly. Thought I saw a green number plate. Maybe not.
Yeah, I think these riders are a little further back in the field. Yeah, not really look like maybe some A riders mixed in.
Yeah, sitting here.
Yeah, those are A riders coming by there now. So,
speaking of A riders, good opening lap there for Cooper Jones, 13th overall. We've seen Gavin Simon, JoJo Cunningham as well up in that top 20 a few times, but man, Jones up inside the top 15.
Yeah, that's a solid run for lap 1. Especially those guys are, they've got to pass riders in the classes in front of them, depending on what row they started on. Cooper Jones, I believe, out of that 258 class, so he's got XC3 riders in front of him. He'll start catching into the back of the XC2 riders as well. So, that can work for you and against you at the same time. You've got some faster riders in front that if you can catch up to them, you can kind of key off of them. But you've got to get past the slower riders in the classes in front of you as well. But obviously, Cooper Jones putting in a heater there lap 1 and 13th overall. So showing some good sprint speed. Actually, one of the riders that has been selected with Jason Tino's injury, Cooper Jones will be on the junior trophy team for the ISDE this summer in Italy. So good sprint speed's a good thing to have if you're going to go represent your country at ISDE.
Absolutely. That one's going to be fun to watch for sure. And we saw Cody Barnes get a fill-in spot last year and then got picked again this year completely on his own merit. So that's going to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, great opportunity there for Jones.
Yeah, Cooper actually did go to Spain last year. He was on one of the club teams where he qualified.
I thought
so. He does have some ISD experience, but now this will be a step up to the elite trophy team level as opposed to the club team level, which is still very competitive. And those guys put a ton of work and a ton of effort into it. But he's not. It won't be a complete shock to the system racing in a foreign country in the format. Okay, look at this. Back to our XC1 riders here at the 4-mile marker. That was the 212 of Russell working his way past there, and now out to the field. Stu Baylor still, Evan Smith right behind him, pretty much right on the rear wheel there. And, we were talking about it just a minute ago, guys. If you're Stu Baylor, there's a couple things. He's obviously got some head congestion. Says it's even causing some brain fog. The last thing he wants is dust clogging up the breathing passageways. So no better way to eliminate that than just to be out front and not. He will have some dust, obviously, once he starts to get into lapped riders, but he's going to get probably the better part of 2 laps with absolutely no dust in front of him whatsoever if he's able to maintain this lead like he is right now. But Evan Smith is just looking so smooth there in the number 2 spot. He's just kind of got Stu right in front of him, keying off him, and just riding the pace.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Smith is really too concerned about where he's at right now. Just riding his ride, and doesn't look like he's attacking necessarily to try to get past Stu, as it looks like they've stretched it out just a little bit over Jordan Ashburn, who should be in that 4th place spot, or 3rd place spot, excuse me, in XC1.
Yep, looked like it was still Ashburn and Kelly, the last we had seen. We're back into some XC2 riders now. And there is Baylor. This is the next field section on the other side of the woods. You can see him blowing up those berms, making a little bit of dust, making it harder for Evan Smith to be able to see. But Smith, because there's only one rider in front of him, he can just move a little bit off that main line and get some clear vision. Just behind him, hard to see, but it looks like we may have a change.
Maybe Kelly making the pass?
Nope, still Ashburn in the number 3 spot, and Ben Kelly on the 530 FMF Red Bull KTM. They're in the number 4 spot. Just behind them looks like Strang and Witkowski. Then it's Ricky Russell, Liam Draper, Craig DeLong,
and Craig going to have some room behind him as now we see our next riders.
Looks like it is
Lafferty and Davis.
Lafferty and Davis. Looks like we've lost Caleb Russell from that mix there. He was in between them just a camera shot ago.
You see Lafferty giving the wave there.
And is that Russell?
Yep.
It is. Okay, the 557 machine. There's Gus Reardon making his way through, your second place in the XC2 class.
There's Cody Barnes, the second rider. They're not sure who that was in front of him.
Ansley, maybe?
I think Ansley's a little further back. That might be Brody Johnson.
Possibly Snodgrass?
Could have been Snodgrass, yep. There's Grant Baylor.
Okay, so taking a look now. Back up to Stu Baylor now. Your leader making his way through the creek here at the mile 6 mark. Evan Smith still right there.
Smith just looking so good, looking comfortable.
Up on the pegs.
And Kelly going to take the outside line here through the creek as we see Ashburn going to the inside.
There's Josh Strang taking that middle line.
And there's Ricky Russell wheeling his way through.
Liam Draper to the far right. We talked about this a little bit yesterday on the show. That far right is quicker to enter in, but when you exit, it's got some, it's pretty slick. There's some rocks, and it kind of makes a couple chicanes. Where this left line, it's further out of the way, but it's a straight shot once you get out of there. Craig DeLong also checking through. The next rider we see should be, and there he is, the big green number 1 of Grant Davis trying to track down the leaders, followed very closely by, there is Ryder Lafferty on the 336. And then Caleb Russell and Gus Reardon.
There's Cody Barnes now making his way through. Now, I believe Snodgrass, but that is Lyndon Snodgrass there making his way through on the Husqvarna.
So we've got a good mix of XC1 and XC2 right now. There is, welcome back to GNCC Racing, Thad Duvall on the 989 Racecraft Racing KTM. Back injury taking him out for a number of rounds, and also welcome back again Grant Baylor. So very, very full XC1 line here today.
Yeah, great to see a ton of competition there in that XC1 class. And going to jump back up to the top here with your leader, Stu Baylor, followed by Evan Smith. Guys, Evan Smith's best finish so far, like I said, only racing 3 out of the 6 races so far this year, missing the first 3. His best finish is 7th place.
Yeah, he's had a couple of top 5s. I believe it was last year on a semi-privateer effort. But, you know, to see him up sitting solidly and looking smooth in that number 2 spot, you know, if he's got the fitness to go the distance, which I know he works hard, we could potentially see Evan Smith battle for a podium here today.
Yeah, that would be quite the feat for him if he's able to hold on to it down to the checkered flag, but a ton of racing in between now and then as we are 36 minutes into this approximate 3-hour race.
Nice little creative line we saw there from Stu Baylor through these switchbacks.
I saw that.
Stu jumping the log. There's Jordan Ashburn now on screen, followed closely by Ben Kelly. That battle for the 3rd place spot.
Kelly's starting to look a little antsy, like he wants around Jordan Ashburn. There is Strang. There is Witkowski. And then it's Ricky Russell on that 212 Enduro Engineering Triumph. Liam Draper sitting back there, still seeing a shot at the podium up there ahead of him. And then Craig DeLong hanging tough as well, hanging on to this lead group here. Next rider we should see should be our XC2 leader, and there is Grant Davis chipping away at that gap. He obviously had the elapsed time 2-second advantage over, oh, sorry, nope, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. The elapsed time advantage was 1 second. Grant Davis had over Stu Baylor 1 lap ago. We'll see if Stu is able to reverse that and switch that back into his favor, or if Grant Davis is able to continue to run a little bit faster pace than what Stu Baylor's got out front there.
So Saul Reardon making his way by. He's put some ground in between himself and the 5.57 of Caleb Russell, and it does look like the 99 machine of Barnes has caught up to Russell, so going to be a battle there for that spot. Some more riders making their way by now, seeing Grant Baylor, the brother of our leader, Stu Baylor there. Also on that Rocky Mountain Red Bear Kawasaki Team Green machine. And now seeing another one of them, I believe.
Looks like Josh Toth.
Oh, yep, it is another one. Josh Toth going to make his way by. And expect to see another one of those Rocky Mountain Red Bear Kawasaki's very close behind him.
Nick DeFeo on that 246 machine still sitting back there in that 14th place overall, looking like he was about 5th place in XC2 a lap ago when they came through the finish scoring area. Stu Baylor still leading the way. Evan Smith right behind him, and the race behind them starting to intensify as it looks like Ben Kelly has now gotten around Jordan Ashburn. He has the number 3 spot and looking like he is going to try to reel in that lead duo. Then it's Strang and Wachowski, the number 7 and 8. Sticking to their numbers from last year and staying in the same order. There is Draper. Looked like Ricky Russell was in between there. These guys can all see each other. And then here's the 342 of DeLong still trying to get to the rear wheel of Ricky Russell and Liam Draper. Now your XC2 leader, Grant Davis. Man, that's going to be close on that elapsed time, I think.
Yeah, definitely going to be down to the wire. I mean, it was already only a second, so it's always so impressive to see how close the times come down to between those two classes. Josh Strang has really had some solid rides here as of late. Sitting in that 4th place spot. He's been battling with Wachowski almost since the green flag flew, but really seems to be getting comfortable on that beta.
There was Ryder Lafferty, then it was Gus Reardon, also Caleb Russell, and Cody Barnes. So that is your top 3 through in the XC2 class. There's Lyndon Snodgrass, back from, wasn't with us a round ago. Took a round off, never really got the details on what happened there. And then Thad Duvall coming through. Here is Grant Baylor.
All right, seeing some more riders now at this mile 9. That's Josh Toth making his way through. And now expect to see Nick DeFeo.
And Brody Johnson there.
So now going to be Johnson. There's Cleveland making his way by, Toby Cleveland on the 213. And now we see Nick DeFeo making his way by on that 246 machine.
Jack Walker on the beta passing by. Missed that handoff there, and those are...
Oh, look at this. Ben Kelly has closed the gap. Now he is right to the rear wheel of Evan Smith, who's still right on Stu Baylor. I think this is it. We're seeing the charge from Kelly, looking like he wants to get to the front. He was back there behind Jordan Ashburn for about a lap and a half. Now he's gotten around, and he's immediately closed the gap to the 2 leaders.
So here we go. We've got a fight now for this 2nd place spot. Still a fight for that top spot as Evan Smith has not let go yet.
Yeah, Stu Baylor not that much further up ahead, so this is going to be a 3-rider battle for the lead before you know it. 1, 2, there it is, 3. So almost evenly spaced now between your top 3 as Ben Kelly seems to have wicked it up a little bit here in this last couple of minutes.
Ben not normally a fast starter, so the fact that he's this close to the front early may speak volumes about just how badly he wants to grab the win here today. And I, you know, we don't have a crystal ball, but I do think we're going to see Ben Kelly try to make some moves here, not necessarily even in the coming laps, but in the coming couple miles. I think we're going to see him try to go for the lead. If he gets the opportunity to try to set a pace, he's going to try to shake these guys loose.
Well, there you hear it, folks. I believe, Johnny, you are definitely going to be on the right track. Ben Kelly not going to want to waste any time here. So we'll see if Evan Smith can fend him off. And what a ride for Evan Smith here today. The best of the season so far for him.
Well, this isn't the first time that we've seen Smith up towards the front either. He's shown a lot of strength. The numbers at the end of the race just haven't quite reflected that yet. So getting to the checkered flag in these top spots, I think that's the last step for Smith, because he's clearly got the speed to be able to run with those top riders.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As we flip here to the mile 9 mark, some of our amateur riders coming through, I do believe.
Here at the FMF Power Point, this is one of the fan favorite spots to hang out and watch as well. See, that's Cole Whitmer making his way through.
Yep, so that would be one of our Open A riders. He's gotten some overall amateur podiums this year. He's been riding very well. Was actually sitting in the number 2 spot at the end of lap number 1. Van Adams leading the way in that class with about a 23-second gap over Cole Whitmer.
Indiana native there leading the way.
Yep.
All right, so continuing to watch here from this FMF Power Point, mile number 9. Beautiful day here in Crawfordsville, Indiana. Weather has cooperated with us here this weekend. I'm sure these guys glad to have a break from the mud, no doubt.
I tell you what, I don't know what your podiums were like, Jackson. I was amazed how many kids I had saying, I miss the mud.
Oh, geez.
There's some that prefer it. Now, clearly, they're not the ones paying for the parts, washing.
Yeah. Kids was the key word there.
Yeah.
Everybody up on the podium with me was pretty happy to have a dry day. The WMX did say it was very fast out there, as now we see who's... I recognize that bike. I definitely recognize that rider. Wasn't quite sure who that one was. But yeah, the WXC out, popping back over to our leaders now as we see Stu Baylor continuing to lead the way. It does look like Evan Smith still holding on to that second place spot, out evenly spaced out here to our third place as Ben Kelly tries to reel them in.
Yeah, maybe even pulled out a little bit from Ben Kelly since our last camera shot, but
very dusty, this section of racetrack leading up to where they're at right now. It's one of the only sections of the woods that is dusty. They've been doing some excavating, and kind of the ground was churned up over on that side of the property, so it was powdery even on Friday, and it's only gotten worse from there. So the rest of the woods, good moisture, but that section they just came out of, virtually no moisture. It's like the Sahara Desert over there. Jordan Ashburn still sitting in the number 4 spot. Then it is Mike Wachowski in 5th. He has actually gotten around. Looks like Josh Strang, and so has Ricky Russell. There is Liam Draper. I don't think we missed Strang. Davis, and there is Strang. So a little drop back for Strang there. And as they check in, Grant Davis now with a little bit bigger lead here, folks, with the elapsed time of 44:06 and Stu Baylor 44:43. So we're talking 37 seconds is the lead for Grant Davis. Wow. So 36 seconds faster on that last lap of racing. That is a big chunk of time that he has put into the entire XC1 class.
So we see Baylor and Smith both stopping for hydration.
As does Ben Kelly. They're all checking up. Hot day like today, they're wanting to make sure that they have that hydration. Hey, one thing to talk about, you talked about the woods, Johnny. It's surprising to me as how much moisture everybody is saying that is in the trail. The weather has cooperated with us. It's been nice and sunny, but one thing about it, Zach, it has been very windy here all weekend long. Wind will dry out a track like this in no time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the track crew really has done an amazing job as far as keeping moisture in this track, touching up a couple of spots that need it, but all in all, yeah, between pretty direct sunlight and then non-stop wind throughout the weekend, it was bound to get dry one way or another.
It was. There goes our leaders once again, making their way through now. Going to catch them here on this Yamaha Racing live drone. And Stu Baylor going to try to kick up some dust here. Choosing not too bad that time around, but no doubt about it.
That was
there
a wide line right there. That wasn't intentional.
Whoa! Launching up and over the single.
I was not ready for that. Stu Baylor sending it here. Man not looking too sick as he leads the way.
Oh, that was sick. That just was the coughing sick.
Yep, exactly.
So you can see the total elapsed time difference between XC1 and XC2 on the bottom of your screen. So Davis picking up the pace and opening that overall lead up on the last lap.
Surprised Jordan Ashburn was not able to latch on to the back of Ben Kelly. Again, track if you miss bike setup just the tiniest little bit or you're not quite comfortable, it will jump up and kind of make you uncomfortable quickly. But Jordan does not look as racy as we've seen him look in recent races here. He kind of looks like he's sitting solidly in the 4th spot, but maybe trying to find a little groove here to make a push to get back up to the leaders.
Well, and that was something else that we've heard from a lot of our riders today was if you can work with the track, it's great. But if you can't find that groove, if you can't quite find your flow, it will beat you up throughout the entire race.
Yeah. Leaders on screen again. Stu Baylor still leading the way. Evan Smith on that AmPro Yamaha in the number 2 spot. Then it is the 530 FMF Red Bull KTM of Ben Kelly. The Flat Rock Motorsports Gas. Jordan Ashburn 4th with a little bit of a gap. Then it's Witkowski and Ricky Russell looking racy, trying to get to the back wheel of Witkowski, try to make a move. Liam Draper coming through there, and here comes your overall leader, way wide, almost into the banners. Grant Davis really coming in hot there, trying to make up every second he can. Just behind him, it's the 342 of Craig DeLong. Now here comes the 35 of Gus Reardon there, 2nd place in that XC2 class, trying to run down the class leader. And look at this now, the top 3 overall, all out of the XC2 class. Cody Barnes now up into that 3rd place spot, and Gus Reardon in the number 2 spot, both overall and in the XC2. There goes Ryder Lafferty by. Then it's Josh Strang seemingly falling back. Something going on with Strang. He's lost a number of positions here in the last mile or so of racetrack, and just behind him was the 557 of Caleb Russell, and it's the 178 of Snodgrass.
And so how about that? Cody Barnes, we heard from him just before racing and said the overall podium was a huge goal for him. And sitting in that final podium spot at the moment as we flip back to your leaders, all top 3 within 1 camera shot, as Ben Kelly stalking the AmPro Yamaha of Evan Smith. And just in front of them, your leader, Stu Baylor. Here comes Jordan Ashburn, just out of sight from that top 3. Ooh. Good save from Witkowski, Russell, and Draper making up a bit of time as well, starting to get close.
And here's Grant Davis on that big number 1 making his way in as we pop back now to this FMF PowerPoint where we see Stu Baylor continuing to lead the way.
You got to wonder if Ben Kelly's sudden kind of charge to try to get to the front is a result of getting some pit boards that Grant Davis is getting that close, because now he's getting to the point where he can just about see these guys in the distance, and we know once he gets his hooks into them, it's hard for them to pull it back out. So they may be trying to break him here, and with Stu being under the weather, he may just not quite have the chops to go all in to try to push the pace. So maybe that's what we're seeing from Ben Kelly right now, is trying to push his way up there to get that point position to try to stretch things out over Grant Davis.
Yeah, because the last thing that they need is Grant Davis to get on their heels and physically get up there with him. There's no doubt it's going to be hard to pull that time back out, as your XC2 sitting in the top 3 spots. Angus Reardon, not one we talked a whole lot about. Mikey actually talked to him just a little bit about that, saying, you know, sometimes I do feel forgotten. He's definitely not forgotten, as he's running 3rd in the points for the year. In our top 5, 3 XC2 riders. Yeah, Grant Davis, Angus Reardon, and Cody Barnes.
And to your point, Jackson, he kind of feels that up on the podium as well. And he's not an excuse guy. It's not a bike thing. It's not a mechanic thing. It's nothing more than, hey, Gus has got to figure out how to go faster. And I've got a ton of respect for it. And he looks at Grant every podium and says, hey, I'm coming back for you next weekend. And so at our last round, actually able to grab that win, and you could feel the confidence kind of back on the podium, the way he was talking. And he's, you know, it's nice to remind myself that I can do this. So Gus Reardon, another solid performance right now, and definitely not going to give up on trying to chase down his teammate.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now 51 minutes into this approximate 3-hour race as we continue here at the FMF PowerPoint. There goes Grant Baylor making his way by. Here's our lap time from the last lap. Grant Davis turning a 23:15, fastest guy on the track, with Reardon just behind him with a 23:28. Still not quite going to be up there with Davis, and then Cody Barnes going to drop it down just a little bit below Reardon with a 23:27. And then take a look at that. Your leader, Stu Baylor, turning a 23:50. That was the slowest out of what we're seeing there on the screen.
You know, it's hard to speculate, but you got to believe that this is starting to be that, you know, we're approaching near an hour into this race. Stu's been under the weather. You know, you could hear it in his voice even on Friday talking to him, and obviously it's not gotten better from there. If anything, it's gotten worse. You know, I like the attitude. I like the approach. It's, hey, I believed in Santa Claus for 12 years. I just need to believe in myself for 3 hours. You got to, man. You got to go out there. You got to get all the points you can get. And, a guy like Stu Baylor has performed injured. He's performed sick. He's come from the back to been able to get up to get good points on a day where adversity struck. So he's definitely got the mental toughness, but sometimes the body just does not have its best stuff, especially when you're under the weather. I think today is going to be a tough day, and I think a little bit of that is what we're seeing right now. Not that Grant Davis isn't absolutely flying out there, but with the top 3 in XC2 all turning faster lap times than Stu by a wide margin that last lap, I think we might be seeing not his best stuff, but who knows? Maybe he can regroup, push, and get that pace going again and stretch it back out over those guys.
Well, and on top of that, we saw Ben Kelly with a 23.40 on that last lap. It was several seconds faster. So Kelly seemingly getting faster as this race goes on, whereas Stu Baylor, you can't blame the guy, heart of a lion. But like you said, Johnny, at some point the body taps out.
Yep. And if you're Stu, if you're not at your best, you're doing exactly what you need to do. You're controlling the race from the front. There's nothing you can do to slow down those XC2 guys, but if you're riding a pace you're comfortable with, you are kind of the pace car, and those other XC1 riders, like he said, unless they pass him in the field, if he's running the best line, it's going to be very difficult for Evan Smith, for Ben Kelly, for Jordan Ashburn, for any of those guys to get up there and make a pass. So he's riding a very smart race right now, and this is a guy who wants to fight for the championship, and if I'm correct, I think he's only a little over 30 points, exactly. So 30 points out of it, one race. The guys in front of him, obviously all 3 of them have had good, solid races each of the first 6 rounds. Stu having, obviously, no points day at round 1, and then a 15th and a 12th at 2 other rounds. So he's had some really bad days. Today's a good opportunity for him to scrape back some points, for sure.
Yeah, it sure is. Hate to hear that Stu Baylor don't still believe in Santa Claus, but glad he believes in himself and getting it done out here right now.
Don't tell Levi. That's all.
Don't tell Levi.
I don't know. Obviously, the presents show up. He's got to be real.
Yeah, he's got to be.
Comes down the chimney. Here we go.
There we go.
Leader on screen. Still the non-Santa Claus believers, Stu Baylor, and just behind him, man, still can't say enough about Evan Smith there. Just absolutely glued to the back of Baylor, and now we see the gap between Ben Kelly, who's in 3rd, and Jordan Ashburn continuing to open up, and now Witkowski has gotten right to the rear wheel of Ashburn. Actually, just a little bit ago, look at this now. Grant Davis continuing to pick off XC1 riders and make up time. He is soon going to be in a position where he's going to be able to see this battle for the top 3 in the distance, and we're seeing a battle right now for the number 2 spot. Ben Kelly around the outside of the 347 of Smith, taking over the number 2 spot, and now he takes off in search of the 514 machine out front of Stu Baylor. Ben Kelly has come from a way further back in the pack, gotten himself up into the top 5. Then he was in the top 3. Now he's made the move on Smith, and he is in the number 2 spot trying to run down Stu Baylor.
Man, what an impressive pass there from Kelly up on the pegs late into that corner and carried the speed right around Evan Smith. And like you said, Johnny, the best part is he's got Stu Baylor right there in sight and can start to try to chip away at this lead.
Yeah, pretty respectful from Evan Smith as well. Once he realized it was Kelly, I think he could have run him a little harder into that next corner, but I think he realized that Ben had put in a charge and gotten to him there, and Evan, obviously a little bit different perspective on this. He's probably just absolutely pumped to be running in the top 3 right now. Doesn't want to do anything silly to knock himself or anyone else down, so he just kind of wisely just gives that position up for a minute and going to try to latch onto the rear wheel of the 530 machine and go with him. Who knows? Maybe he'll try to get around Baylor as well if they can get up there and push that pace to do so.
So we're going to see, no doubt about it. Ben Kelly is on his way to the front, turning a 10-second faster lap time that last time around than Stu Baylor. We're going to see, can he get it done?
Thought that was Baylor for a second at the top.
I believe it was a lap rider.
Yes, it was. Pulling over, letting him by.
That'd be a bold move.
And there's Ashburn on screen, I do believe, at the top of your screen.
Oh, my goodness. Grant Davis right there. He's almost to the point in the larger field sections. So the last field section we saw, you can actually see across it. Guarantee you Grant Davis took a look over and saw the leaders. He knows he's making up ground. Now the 198 of Draper charging, making some moves as well. He has gotten around, or is that actually might be Gus Reardon, who's now gotten to the back of Draper, and then there is Craig DeLong, and there is the 99 of Cody Barnes. So the XC2 boys are on one. They are shredding their way to the front and just going by XC1 riders. There's the 212 of Russell. man, these top three in XC2 are just really pushing the pace and working their way, just making moves right around these XC1 riders.
Yeah, we're used to seeing it more in the mud, but seeing it today in the dust is now Strain going to be on screen.
And then it's Lafferty.
Followed by Lafferty. It should be seeing Johnson before too long, I do believe.
Looking like that is
Snodgrass, who's actually now gotten around Caleb Russell.
And Caleb Russell having a rough day here after that second turn crash.
Yeah, definitely not where the Emperor Yamaha rider is wanting to be, and got to think maybe missing bike setup a little bit or something, just does not seem comfortable. Used to seeing him move forward.
There goes our leaders now. Stu Baylor has made his way through, as does Ben Kelly. Wasn't quite able to catch Smith making his way through there. But nothing to be alarmed about, as now we see Wachowski. And there's Grant Davis.
Man, he is just on the move.
Just behind him, Liam Draper now. And there's Liam Draper.
Yeah, Ricky Russell. Tell you what, shout out to Reardon, though.
Yeah,
he's keeping him close. And Cody Barnes as well, right there. I mean, one little mistake from Grant Davis, or even those two getting in a battle and picking up the pace a little bit. I mean, he's just up there in the distance. He is not minutes out front. He is just...
That was Ricky Russell, I believe.
Yeah. Ricky Russell just all over this racetrack.
Wasn't quite sure who that was ahead then. So
May have been Wachowski.
Well, we actually we saw Wachowski go through there. Now we see Strain and Lafferty.
Yep.
Do believe. And it does look like, according to timing and scoring, Toth has got around Johnson, so it'd be Toth that we should be expecting next from our XC2.
Snodgrass and Caleb Russell through.
Bad Duval.
Bad. Okay, back up to the top we go.
Let's see if Baylor runs that sneaky line he had.
Gotta be hard to, and he is. That's a nice one.
Oh, and that's beautiful too, because he puts a lap rider between himself and Ben Kelly. Didn't cost him as much as they thought. That's the age-old leader gets caught up a little bit more by the lap rider. Once he realized who was in front of him, pulled off to the side.
So is that Evan Smith?
Yeah, I'm trying to look and see.
It's hard to tell from here.
It appears that we may have lost Smith. I think that may be... I'm pretty sure that actually may be Jordan Ashburn now in the number 3 spot. We'll wait and see. We don't want to panic anybody, but we may have lost the 347 of Evan Smith.
Okay, here we go.
That is definitely Ashburn.
So the number 3 back in that 3rd spot. That's Wachowski.
4th now. There is Davis. Something amiss, something happened. There is Evan Smith, but he has lost a good bit of time in several positions here.
Okay, here we go. Liam Draper now going to make his way into the camera shot. There's Gus Reardon. Our XC2 2nd place, making some ground.
There's the 99 of Cody Barnes. That is your top 3 now checked through at the 7-mile marker here.
Not only in the XC2 class, but on the overall charts as well, as DeLong makes his way through, followed by Ricky Russell. And that's going to be one of our amateur riders making his way to us. 2 of our amateur riders, and then going to see Josh Strain aboard that number 7 Beta Machine now. Lafferty just behind him. There goes Caleb Russell now making his way by, as does Snodgrass.
Man, impressive stuff here. Thad Duval making some quick moves as well. What an impressive start to this bike afternoon race. Stu Baylor not feeling at 100%, but doing exactly what he needs to do, getting out front early. Evan Smith still having a very solid run in about that 5th place spot, but it is Ben Kelly on the chase now, trying to track down your leader. All the meanwhile, the pesky kid, Grant Davis, and the rest of the XC2 boys, Gus Reardon and Cody Barnes, leading on overall elapsed times 1, 2, and 3. And you can see those XC2 boys are pushing hard to keep that overall lead as well. And Stu Baylor pushing hard, leaping to try to hold on to that lead as well. We'll be back to more racing when we get a quick word from our sponsors right here at the AMSOIL Hoosier GNCC.
Unleash aggression, reliability, and premium quality with Kenda Tires. Delivering exceptional performance on all types of vehicles. Automotive, ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, bicycles, trailers, lawn and garden, and even golf. Trust Kenda Tires to guide you on your next adventure. Kenda, designed for your journey.
And welcome back to GNCC Live. Hey, Progressive Insurance, the title sponsor of the GNCC Racing Series. Boy, they insure your car, they insure your motorcycle. By the way, we've got the Progressive Campground, and this is quite the display. I would say a lot of the folks out here that race, they've got a camper, they've got an RV. Do yourself a favor. Scan the QR code on Racer TV right now. See if Progressive can save you some money on your camper or RV insurance. I'm sure they can. And what a shot. So, yeah, QR code right on the broadcast. Check it out. You can certainly search Progressive and get yourself a quote as well. We are back, and Johnny Gallagher, we've got a barn burner going on the track, and we welcome into the booth DQ, David Quillen. How are you, man? It's been a long time.
Yeah, dude, I'm great. It's been a long time. We used to do some fun things, and then we got busy, and here we are.
Life's pretty much gotten in the way. For those that don't know, DQ and I used to run a little show. I can't remember what it was called. Something like a bottleneck. Johnny, you've hung out with us. You've called in. You were our go-to expert that set us straight a lot.
I just like to argue with you guys.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun, and then life did get in the way. But more on that in a second. DQ, welcome to the Hoosier GNCC.
Yeah, man, it's good to be back. I haven't been to one of these in a while. I rarely leave the shop anymore, so it's different. That's what I was joking. I was like, I walk around, I'm like, I don't know who half the people are. It's so different.
No.
In like 3-4 years, it's like, holy cow, it's a whole different crew. Everybody's going faster. It's a whole different level. It's amazing to see.
Now, when you watch the broadcast, can you make out who the riders is, or have you forgotten that too?
No, I've been doing pretty good at it so far, just watching. I was like, I knew I was going to come up here. I'm like, I better go figure this out. And I'm like, I got to be better than Johnny, so that's all that matters.
Oh. Yeah, that's not happening. There's Stu Baylor, and there is Ben Kelly. While you're yammering on, we got a race going on screen, DQ. That is a battle for the lead. They have now stretched it out over the rest of the field. We did see Evan Smith dropping back a few positions, and it is now Jordan Ashburn in the number 3 spot. Bennett Zwickowski and Grant Davis. He is your overall leader and your XC2 leader, and he is now physically right behind 3rd and 4th place overall, sitting in that 5th place physically on the racetrack.
He had a gap of, what was it, about 37 seconds?
Yeah, 37 seconds last lap was the elapsed time. There is Gus Reardon, 2nd place in that XC2. Then Evan Smith looking like he's starting to labor a bit.
So that looked like Johnny going through, I believe.
Yeah, I was going a little slower than that for sure. Craig DeLong coming by on the 342 machine, still solidly inside the top 10 in that XC1 class, and Ricky Russell on that Enduro Engineering Triumph machine.
So knocking on the door of mile 10, I believe, OPAG, just let us know. So getting along in this one, DQ, do we make the announcement now?
I mean, we can.
We're gonna bring the bottleneck back. You guys in Indiana and even the East Coast are begging us to bring it back. you really want to hear us talk about nothing for like 2 or 3 hours a week, and so we're going to do it.
Yeah, I'm down. Let's do it. Let's do it. There goes Caleb through.
Caleb Russell through. So there you go. There's our big announcement. DQ, have you kept up with GNCC this year? So if I put you on the spot about what the XC2 has done, can you speak to that? Like, have you?
I know the XC2 is almost faster than XC1 at this point in most rounds. DeFeo and Grant, I mean, they're absolutely just blowing the doors off. I made the joke early in the season that XC1 is becoming a vet class. And it wasn't taken very well, but I thought it was funny at the time.
They may have something to say to you about that. Well, you touched on that a little bit earlier, Johnny, just some outside perspective on the XC1 guys kind of being pressured. And, like, are you guys letting the XC2 guys pass you? No.
Yeah, no. I think, to be honest, I think the XC1 guys are getting pretty fed up with it.
Absolutely.
They're starting to get a chip on their shoulder, but even if they're going to chip on their shoulder right now, Grant Davis is
doesn't look
going fast enough that he is just outright putting time on the entire XC1 class. May see, obviously Ben Kelly looking racy there, looking like he's really trying to get himself into position to try to take that point position away from Stu Baylor, and we'll see what he's able to do if he can get clear air. But just as we say that, on screen, Stu Baylor still with the lead, looking like he's moving a little faster, though. I think seeing that 5:30 machine behind him, knowing that's the points leader, probably a little bit more complacent seeing the 3:47 of Evan Smith back there for the first 2 laps. But now that he sees it's Ben Kelly, I think Stu Baylor's going to push. We know he's under the weather, but right now doing just a phenomenal job out front, leading the way in this one.
Be interesting to see. They check in right here. Johnny's keeping his eyes on it. We'll have to wait a second before we see Davis.
See if they up the pace to pull it back in front for the XC1 guys.
And I'm thinking, obviously, I think Davis and Reardon's still going to be there because they were on that rear wheel.
Yeah, so, I mean, Grant Davis for sure still has the overall because I can see him right there. But lap time-wise, Stu Baylor with a 23:49, Ben Kelly with a 23:48. And as they check in, the tail of the tape for Grant Davis still out front with a 23:42. So only 7 seconds faster than Baylor and only 6 seconds faster than Kelly that lap. So the damage really here was done on lap number 2, where he was 36 seconds faster than Stu Baylor.
Ooh, man, 7-lap race is what these guys will face. That's another one, Johnny. We've, coming into today, Camp Coker was hot. Like it was like Palaca, Florida hot we've had in years past where guys were just exasperated post-race. We've really had mutters. We've had things slowed down to where you're battling the track more than you're battling the guy beside you. Today is one of those days with as many laps as they're churning. Hydration.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the elapsed time, though, 7-lap race, it's going to be short. It's going to only be about 2 hours and 45-ish minutes. Not that that's short by any means, but, we're not going to see an over 3-hour race if they're only doing 7 laps. I know there's a lot of discussions. These guys are getting so good at anticipating the speeds and the time on these tracks. A lot of the XC1 and XC2 guys were saying, hey, this one's going to be right on the cusp between a 7 or an 8-lap race. I think they're going to be pretty pleased that it's 7 because the track, I can tell you, out there this morning was already starting to get rough. Yeah. I can only imagine now how fast these guys are going, how hard they are on the throttle, how much dirt they're moving. It's just going to continue to get rougher and rougher.
Love it. Why didn't you race this weekend, DQ?
Me? I don't know. I haven't raced in probably over a year. Well, it's extremely dusty for me. Come on, there's no mud.
That's true.
There's no mud. I'm not doing it. I heard Johnny
was
raced.
The opposite.
Yeah. I don't like the mud. I like the mud on a quad.
I was getting ready to say, I'm pretty sure you won the worst mud race in the world.
One of the worst. But no, I'm a fair weather racer now. This fell into my window of between 61 and 74 degrees. There was no excessive dust. There was no mud, and I felt like racing. So those are my criteria. I checked all the boxes, made the decision this morning, and went out. But yeah.
That's awesome. I heard you had pretty good results, too.
I won my first ever GNCC dirt bike race. Pretty excited about that.
Awesome.
After a horrendous start.
Yeah, dead last. Dead last on the start. Made some moves like these guys are on screen right now. Making moves right now. Ben Kelly trying to get right on the rear wheel of Stu Baylor, but Stu Baylor fighting back and able to keep him at bay for right now. But as that happens, the big green number 1 back there of Grant Davis continuing to chip away and looking physically at the time scanned, he is only, that won't work because it's elapsed time, but he's physically not very far behind on the racetrack of our physical leader, Stu Baylor. Grant Davis back there lurking, can see these guys in the field sections now, and he's trying to get right to the rear wheel. At that point, if you're Grant Davis and you get to the back wheel of the leader, you don't even try to make a pass. You just sit there, chill, hang out, and know that you've got a minute advantage that you're kind of playing with house money. Oh! Davis almost goes down.
That's quite the scene.
They are inching up on those guys. Ben closed up on Stu quite a bit, but Grant, they're definitely inching forward.
Yep, there you go. There's Witkowski. Draper putting in a charge, and Gus Reardon and Cody Barnes just keep pushing.
Chugging.
Can't quite get to the rear wheel of Reardon, but he has him in his sights. Can see him right there off in the distance. And once again, battle for the overall lead. That is the elapsed time on screen.
That's just incredible by Grant Davis, just continuing to do this. And we got to the point where we kept pretending to be shocked when we were no longer shocked anymore. Now at this point, like he's in the conversation. And when we look at the overall championship, there's several guys in that conversation. And look at that, the XC2 guys, fast, absolutely
real
just
fast.
Wow, speeds out there.
Again, faster lap times and continuing to open up that gap. Now, Cody Barnes sitting in the third place overall. He is 5 seconds behind Gus Reardon, and he has a gap over Stu Baylor of 13 seconds. 22 seconds in the elapsed time. So even though he's physically still behind Baylor out there leading XC1 is actually, after corrected time, 4th place in the overall and has to make up 22 seconds on Cody Barnes, even more on Gus Reardon, and even more on Grant Davis to get himself back into the conversation to be on the overall podium.
Yeah, an XC2 lockout of the podium would just be insane.
It's nuts. Pits are going to be interesting for the KTM crew. They're certainly capable, but you got Davis, Reardon, and Ben Kelly right there back to back to back.
Double, triple stacking them. It will be a little chaotic
down there in pit lane.
Well, 2 different semis there.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right.
The Lander
Kelly will
semi
be
and the Red Bull semi.
Ben Kelly will be under his own semi tent there, and then Davis and Reardon. There is Ashburn and Davis just right there on the rear wheel of Ashburn. Looking like he wants around because I think he feels like he has the speed to bridge the gap to the leaders. He's obviously running a faster pace right now. There's Draper, and man, Gus Reardon really pushing hard. He is not that far behind, and neither is the 99 of Cody Barnes right here. So these guys, we keep talking about it. Grant Davis, and he's earned it. He's sitting in that number 2 spot in the overall. He's, we've already seen him take 2 overall wins last season, but you can't slight the fact that Cody Barnes and Gus Reardon are giving him all he can handle this year. Even though, Davis is getting the lion's share of the wins, those guys are right there every race.
If you look at any other season, if we were to talk about Angus Reardon or Cody Barnes being where they're at in the overall points championship, we'd be singing their praises every single race. They're just slightly being outdone by Davis.
Yep.
Been fun to watch. DQ, before we let you go, man, any chance we get you back out wrenching for one of the pro guys?
It would take I don't know. More than likely, yeah. It would take a ridiculous set of circumstances, but I mean, I'll never say never, but probably never.
So if Stu Baylor called you up tomorrow,
that would take a lot of zeros.
Did you guys just see the 1-footer action from Josh Toth? He may not be having exactly the ride he's looking for back there in that 13th place overall, but nonetheless, he is still, I guess, that puts him in fourth in the XC2 class, and that's not a bad day by any means. But he's having fun, man. His teammate Nick DeFeo right behind him there. At least it looked like on screen. But that was just shows, man. Even the top riders sometimes they just tap into the fun of it, and coming through this section you can see just little leg swag there.
Yeah, just having fun. That's awesome.
Actually, that wasn't DeFeo behind him, that was Grant Baylor.
A little fun. Well, DQ, thanks so much for hanging
of course.
out.
Thanks for having me on, and we'll get back to talking about nonsense.
Yeah, we'll get back to the TMZ of off-road racing.
Real quick, let's talk about this, because on screen what we're seeing is Gavin Simon and JoJo Cunningham coming through. Look at those riders on the overall, 9th and 10th overall, folks. They are absolutely shredding, and now it is flip-flop from what we see on screen. JoJo Cunningham has actually gotten around Gavin Simon, so talk about pushing the pace. Those guys are shredding right now.
What's interesting is I spoke with Reardon and Cody Barnes both prior to this one. Thank you, DQ. Good hanging, buddy. Spoke to both of those guys prior to this one, and they were kind of not apprehensive, but they said, hey, because the conditions aren't muddy, it's going to be a lot harder for us to get up there and fight with those guys out front. We feel like they're going to run away quicker. We think it's going to take more time. That's not really been the case today, Johnny, and obviously not been the case for Simon and Cunningham pushing each other. Why is that? Give us the expert opinion on that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah.
This racetrack, based off what I saw, on Friday, and based off what I saw when I was out there this morning, I would not have anticipated seeing an XC2 lockout of the podium, as DQ pointed out. Now, 3 laps into this one, I would not have anticipated seeing two 250A riders up in the top 10 overall. The racetrack is just a very raceable racetrack. The conditions are actually pretty good. It's definitely got some slick spots. There's a lot of tree roots, a lot of square edge. I will say this is a racetrack. I think what we're seeing with some of our riders out there, Stu Baylor obviously under the weather, and he's kind of the pace car up front right now. Not that I don't want to be taken out of context. It's not that he's holding these guys up, but he is doing what he needs to do today, which is control the pace and not let those guys around him, because it's going to be harder for him to follow. We know he's likely having some breathing issues with that head cold, but the reality of it is, I think there's some riders behind him that maybe have or could have a little bit more pace, and that may neutralize this whole thing a little bit with the XC2 guys. But right now, that's just the way the race is playing out, and it's definitely surprising to me. I would have thought that, if whoever it was, whether it was Stu or anyone up front, wasn't quite putting the pace down, but he's a smart guy. He said at the pre-race interview, he said, I don't think there's going to be a lot of passing. I think if I can get a start, I think if I can just keep them from passing me in the fields. He even referenced the stringer. Yeah. He's saying there just isn't. There we go. New leader, we are told. New leader. Ben Kelly, the 530 FMF Red Bull KTM out front, has gotten around the 514 of Baylor. And there is Jordan Ashburn, and there is Grant Davis. So the pressure from Davis has now pushed Jordan Ashburn a little bit back closer to the front, and here comes the rest. I think that may have actually already been Gus Reardon that just came through.
I think you're right.
If that's the case, he is now closing the gap back up on your XC2 and overall leader of Grant Davis. There is Kelly out front, and you can see he has already started to open it up over Stu Baylor. He made the pass somewhere in that last section of racetrack and is absolutely pushing the pace. Now the question is, can he do enough to get Davis really trying to get around Ashburn there? And let's watch closely here and see if we see the 35 of Reardon here. I think he's making up ground.
Man, I love the style of Grant Davis, just all out.
Absolutely going for it. Look at, Ashburn. Nice little save right there.
This might you see the shake of the head there. As
outside line is going to pay off.
I think he gave it to him there. I think he knew it was Davis. And that is definitely Witkowski right behind there. And the rider behind him may be, nope, that's Draper.
That is indeed Draper. So Ben Kelly leading the way. It is no secret Ben Kelly needs to get going if he wants to knock these boys off the top of those charts. He's said it time and time again as we see him popping back onto the screen that he's not here to get XC1 wins. He's here to get overall wins. He wants to put those boys off of that overall podium. Ben Kelly doing what he needs to do now to try to get that done as Stu Baylor makes his way by.
Yeah, and with only 6 points of a gap in that overall championship points chase, he needs to get wins. It's not like he has a big point. I mean, he's the points leader, but Grant Davis sitting only 6 points behind him, and only another 16 back is Gus Reardon. And those are the two that are 1 and 2 overall right now as they run.
And there it was. Davis made his way by, and he is hanging it all out here in this one. As that machine swapped side to side, he headed back off into the woods.
Yeah, and we saw him get pretty rowdy in the field over by the start this last lap as well. So it's not looking easy for him. He's definitely pushing. He's definitely laying it all out there. But right now it's working with a gap of 15 seconds at the completion of lap number 3 over his nearest competitor in XC2, which was Gus Reardon.
It'll be interesting to see how Stu Baylor is able to respond if he starts waning because of the sickness starting to weigh in on a factor. Johnny, I'm sure you've raced under the weather before. You guys go 2 hours. These guys go 3. We're knocking on the door of the hour and a half mark where we didn't get to see the pass, so we don't really know what happened there. But is this kind of that point where it's like, all right, I just got to put this out of my head and just focus on pushing? And we know Stu is capable of that. He all heart for a reason.
I got to tell you, I think some of the absolute toughest races I've ever had in my entire life were with what at least my perception of the sickness Stu Baylor's dealing with. You know, it's one thing if you got the flu or something like that, there's not really much you can do, but when you have that head cold, you know how you feel. You don't feel all there. He talked about a brain fog, like you're just missing lines, and then as the race goes on, you know, I'm going to go ahead and pat all these guys on the back. We've talked about it so many times. People don't wrap their heads around how deep these guys are going physically and mentally to push this pace. Even now, an hour and 22 minutes into this one, we still got an hour and a half left. Plus, you know, they're just now reaching the halfway point, and they've already burned as many calories, carried heart rates that medical professionals will say are not possible, that other athletes, you know, are taking breaks in between, you know, offense and defense and all these other things that we talk about. These guys are just go, 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 go. So couple that with the fact that Stu Baylor, not physically 100%, breathing issues, it sounds like, if just listening to him talk, and said he hasn't been sleeping well, hasn't been leaving the motorhome, likely probably not eating normally, you know, all of those things factoring in. He is absolutely crushing it to be out there physically second on the racetrack. We've talked about it so many times, Mikey and Jackson. All Heart, that was his nickname back in the day when he was at 250A and racing XC2, and he's showing it again today. Criticize the man any way you want, but do not ever question his effort, because he will give you everything.
Yes, he will. Another guy who's given everything and has to, Ben Kelly, our leader out in front. And as he takes the reins of this race, he has the points lead and trying to put himself in a position to add a little bit to that here today. We had a chance to catch up with Ben Kelly prior to today's race.
Yeah, we've been here enough to where we've raced in these types of conditions. It's even been, you know, drier and dustier before, and I think we're going to be okay. You know, parts of it are going to be pretty dusty and silty, but most of it's going to be pretty good. And, you know, the past few years, I feel like this track's been a lot faster than, you know, it used to be. It's just, I guess, the way the dirt is shaping up and riding all the same trails and, you know, the quad's packing it in. So, yeah, it's definitely fast, but has good flow. You know, the corners still build up some good berms. You can get out of the bumpy stuff, and yeah, it's gonna be gnarly. You're gonna have to be on your toes. But yeah, like I said, my bike works well in these conditions, so I always end up doing well. So looking forward to it.
The bike's working well right now for sure for Ben Kelly on that 530 factory Red Bull KTM machine.
We wait and we watch here at the 7-mile marker, and as we wait and watch, there goes Grant Davis by, looking like we did probably already see our leaders through. And there is Draper. So now he has made some moves. Look at that. Looks like he has gotten around Jordan Ashburn. So Draper on the charge, and he's gotten around Kowski. Draper would now be third in XC1. I don't even know. We'll figure out the overall. We'll let the scoring do that. But there's Barnes, there's Reardon. So they're still very much in touch with those leaders, looking like it is still an XC2 lockout of the podium positions as we run here, nearing the completion of lap number 4, or about halfway through lap number 4.
Yeah, still going to be Davis, Reardon, and Barnes there in that XC2 top 3, and top 3 here on the overall charts as well, as we are approaching the halfway point here in this one, an hour and 25 minutes into this 3-hour-long AMSOIL Hoosier GNCC.
Looking like now we see Ricky Russell on that 212 Enduro Engineering Triumph, running solidly early in the race, now losing touch with the lead group. And just behind him, it's the 342 of DeLong, who's now starting to charge. He's gotten up near, and there is Josh Strang. A great ride for him through the first couple laps, sitting solidly inside the top 5, now dropping back a little further and starting to see a little stir out of Caleb Russell. He was falling back throughout the first couple of laps, and now he has made up a bit of a gap on that group of riders in front of him. Was battling with Ryder Lafferty and back a little further. It's made up a little bit there, but sitting back in that 17th place overall position, you know that is not where he is planning on being. But again, shout out to Gavin Simon and JoJo Cunningham. Last we saw them on screen, that order had flip-flopped. JoJo Cunningham was leading the way in that 250A class, but man, solidly inside the top 10 overall for both those guys. What an impressive performance against the best riders in the world. Physical leader on screen, there is Ben Kelly, the 530 FMF Red Bull KTM. And look at this, Stu Baylor still hanging. I mean, it's not like Ben Kelly is just riding away from him, but that rider right there is getting ever so much closer. Grant Davis now nearly to the rear wheel of Stu Baylor, and then there was Liam Draper, Jordan Ashburn, Mike Wachowski, Gus Reardon, and Cody Barnes. So again, we've got a mix of about 4 XC1 riders, 3 XC2 riders, all that can see each other in the field sections. They're all battling over those top 8 overall positions. But the reality of it is, when you factor in time, it's not really a battle. The XC2 guys are just absolutely putting it on them.
Yeah, almost decimating at this point. Be interesting to see how pit stops play out. Got to be flawless. Dust probably filters today, Johnny, you think?
I don't think it's that dusty. Unless somebody's blowing up berms out in the fields, I don't anticipate them having to change filters. It's not one of those silt dust races. Again, 80% of the track is perfect moisture. I mean, a little on the dry side, but not dusty. There's good grip. It's just the 20-25% that's out open to the sunlight in the wind, and a few sections where it's been churned up. Obviously, they've been doing a lot of renovations and excavating here at this Ironman facility because there's this thing called Motocross of Nations, and they're getting ready for all that. So it's definitely made for a different little bit of terrain in some of the sections, but everything that's kind of been untouched and recovering since last fall for Ironman, there's good moisture. Don't think we'll have any filter swaps.
Up and over the bridge. Waiting, mile marker 9. Grant Davis out front on the adjusted time. I had some moto guys ask me, Johnny, they were like, hey, we're so confused on this adjusted time thing. And I think sometimes we may, hello. Leader. Ben Kelly jumping in front. That was good. Getting in there right before some lap traffic. Let's break down that 101 from row number 2. It's a minute difference. That's what we're talking about on the adjusted time. As Stu Baylor goes by in that 2 spot, well, let's follow this first. And
Grant Davis now nearly to the rear wheel of Stu Baylor. Wow. And just ahead of him, obviously, Ben Kelly. Kind of what I was alluding to when we saw Ben Kelly start, really pushing and getting racy. I really believe that the information was relayed to him that Grant Davis was coming, or he just sensed it perhaps, because we've seen Stu do it as well at Talladega, but Ben has seemingly been the only rider that late in the race is able to pick up the pace and shake Grant Davis, Gus Reardon, Cody Barnes a little further back. He can kind of ratchet the pace up, go deep, and just do what he needs to do to open up that gap. But man, I don't know that Grant has been quite this close. I think he could see Ben Kelly at Camp Coker at one point, if I remember correctly. But at this point, I mean, he literally is no more than 15 seconds behind him. So if Ben Kelly's going to make a push and make a break for it, it needs to be right meow. Like he doesn't have any more time to wait, because if he waits another even few miles, Grant Davis is going to be on his rear wheel. And Liam Draper, shout out to him, man. Big push this last lap, and he has gotten around several riders, including Jordan Ashburn, including Mike Wachowski. And look at this now. Gus Reardon is right to the rear wheel, but Cody Barnes has made up the gap. Now, as he's kind of stalled out behind Mike Wachowski, it looks like Barnes has used that to his advantage, and he's gotten right to the rear wheel there, Zach.
Yeah, no surprise. Those two almost can't go without mentioning one without the other, and they laugh about it up on the podium as well. And that happens in racing, it seems like, as well. Just whether it's based off speed throughout the season or whatso have it, you just have that one rider where even in the mud, in the dust, sure enough, look over, you again, and that has been Gus Reardon and Cody Barnes so far this season.
Yeah, it has been, but I think they've got an opportunity there because they both are riding so well. They have the speed. It's almost like the Grant Davis is kind of using them against each other, it seems like they battle each other and he tries to sneak away. But today, we haven't really seen them battling. They've kind of been flying in formation, and it's almost like maybe they've kind of done a little unofficial truce of, hey, like, I like battling, for podiums, but I really want to battle for wins. So let's move forward. Let's work together, try to get up there and put some pressure on Grant.
Well, and kind of like even Mikey mentioned, the communication starting to go throughout the XC1 field about how are you dealing with these XC2 riders when they're coming through? Well, best believe the XC2 riders are starting to communicate as well. How are we letting Grant get so far out so quickly? And it has gotten rather consistent on the podium between Gus and Cody in that second and third spot. And I believe it. I see them sitting off the side of the podium while Grant's on the overall podium. They don't like it. And even Gus, when he grabbed that XC2 win in the past couple of weeks, he said, this is great, but I really want to do it on the overall podium. Cody Barnes saying earlier today, an overall podium, one of his goals as well.
Yeah, and Cody has never had that overall podium. I believe Gus did have one, I think.
I think he got third in one,
But, Cody Barnes, that's kind of been a thorn in his side, and he's been pretty vocal about it. Like, he's seen these other guys. He's seen DeFeo. He's seen Toth. He's seen guys that, at least this year, he's regularly beating that have already gotten overall podiums. And that's another thing. The XC2 class, it was kind of a Yahtzee shaker situation early in the season. You got DeFeo getting a win. You got Josh Toth up there. You got, Grant Davis and Gus Reardon and Cody Barnes were kind of in, Grant and Gus have been on the podium, I believe, almost every race. But Cody Barnes has gotten stronger. And the last couple rounds, think about it. It's been those three on the podium.
Yep.
And it hasn't really been close. They've really started to distance themselves from the rest of the XC2 field. It's not like even fourth in that, like, look here today. I mean, they're 1, 2, 3 overall. Josh Toth in the number 4 spot, 13th overall. They are really just, those three have established themselves, at least here as of late, that can always change, as the 3 to beat in that class. And today, the 3 to beat on the track.
So taking a look on screen, your leaders checking in, immediately seeing Grant Davis jump right back to the top, as he is still on the rear wheel of Stu Baylor. And here comes Ashburn, Wachowski, Davis.
Yep.
Or excuse me, Reardon. And then Barnes shouldn't be much further back.
Yeah, I don't see Barnes checked in yet. Oh, there he is. Yep. 2 seconds behind Reardon, who's now 23 seconds behind. So we're talking about this XC2 podium lockout for the overall, but Grant Davis, with that 23:39 lap time, put an additional 8 seconds on Gus Reardon that lap. So just when we thought it looked like Reardon was actually getting closer, Grant Davis opens it up again with a 23.7 second lead over the rider behind him, who will, just as he leaves the pits here in a minute, we're going to see the 35 of Reardon coming. There is Stu Baylor. And he gets around.
Oh, man.
Look at that. So Davis does get around Stu Baylor in the pits. Feel like Stu's not going to be happy about that.
Yeah, he knows how hard that's going to be to get back. And Davis probably a real big sigh of relief. He knew how.
You saw when he looked up and saw Stu Baylor still sitting there, it was immediately like, we're not adjusting goggle straps. Yeah. We're going. Let's go. I have an opportunity to make a pass here, and he made it work.
We'll see. Can Gus set his sights on, Davis set his sights on Kelly out in front.
And we talk a lot about Grant Davis's speed, but I think his racecraft as well is really mature for being as young as he is. I mean, simple things like that, taking the look up, seeing Stu, and immediately going, knowing that sense of urgency, knowing how important that was. So Davis really starting to get comfortable, and it's no surprise to hear him on the podium talk about the concern not being XC2 anymore. This is the constant goal. This is the constant focus for Davis, is these overall wins.
Well, the irony there, though, is right now it's one and the same.
Yep.
The guys that he's battling for overall positions are the guys he's battling for XC2. It's the top 3 on track. After the time correction, we've talked about that before, and Mikey, we were kind of touched on that, and then we had some battles coming in. It's not always a minute. They try to do it as close to a minute as they can, but there is someone down on the starting line.
Yep.
I believe it's Jeremy Holbert that has a stopwatch, and they actually physically click that when each row takes off, and then they enter those timestamps into the computer, and the computer does the time correction. Yep. So if XC2 starts 56 seconds behind, Grant Davis, Gus Reardon, Cody Barnes, and the rest all get 56 seconds time credited to them. And it's the same, not just for XC1 and XC2. Yeah. Each row, the time that they start behind XC1, that first row, so the last row, there's 13 rows in some of these races, they get a 13-minute time correction on the first row to take off in each race. Grant Davis, man, he had a little
kick a little dust.
Yeah, little swap in that corner a lap ago, but now clear track in front of him, and look at that. He has opened up big time over Stu Baylor. I do not see Stu Baylor.
And that is, was that
something unless Grant went down and Stu got back around him, but I do not see Stu Baylor.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on that
See
one.
if we can ask OPAG to play that footage back and see if we missed him, but we did not see Stu Baylor come through that camera shot. We also did not see Ben Kelly. He was ahead of that, so it is possible that if somehow, we'll find out here in just a moment, but it is possible that we may have a shakeup in our front runner positions.
They're going to hold here at the 2-mile mark and wait our leaders. There is Ben Kelly.
Yep.
So let's see.
136.59 through the VP banners. If we can... there's Grant Davis.
Grant Davis, yep.
I don't think we saw Stu Baylor. Oh, wait.
Oh, Davis coming together with a lap rider. That could have been a big one.
So about 16 seconds is the gap that Ben Kelly has, and we know it's somewhere around a minute. We'll ask the control room if they can officially radio race control and find out what the official time correction is, just so we know when we're counting it out on screen. Again, the computer software does it for us, but we did not see Stu Baylor again in that camera shot. There looks to be Cody Barnes coming through. We did miss some riders here, folks. We did pan away there, and there is the 3 of Jordan Ashburn. So Barnes now has also physically gotten around Ashburn. Liam Draper, we think, still a little further up the track. I think he might have been one of the riders that we missed. Also, do not know if we've missed Stu Baylor or if he maybe came through that camera shot, but definitely in that field section, 100%, he did not come through.
No. Man, that's a big shakeup, too. And you hate that, too. It's like a day you're already feeling bad. He just lined up, tried to do what he could. So we'll wait.
That looks like Baylor right there to me. It is. That is Stu Baylor.
Okay.
He is all the way back now with Craig DeLong and Ricky Russell and Josh Strang. So a big, big, big time loss. That puts him all the way back in 11th, 12th, 13th overall. That is a huge blow to Stu Baylor. Literally 3 corners earlier was right behind Grant Davis. You have to assume either a crash or some type of an issue there that popped up to lose that much distance and that much time.
That's what I was going to say. An issue, or is it the sickness maybe getting to him and stopping the pit stop, the heart rate coming down?
Wouldn't have happened that quickly. Okay. No, I mean, he lost. You're talking time. If you look at the timestamps, he's back with Josh Strang now with an elapsed time of 1 hour 33:52. Stu Baylor was 1 hour 32:28. So he lost a minute and a half. You don't lose a minute and a half in a quarter mile of racetrack without something happen. He definitely had a measurable issue there and lost some serious time, dropping him back outside of the top 10 or near the back of the top 10 overall.
Man, a big shakeup, but honestly, just glad to see he was still rolling.
Yeah, and he looked, I mean, to me, he looked
still
to be okay.
On the attack, yeah.
All right, we are about to take it to a break. That 1 minute and 2 seconds. That is the time gap we are working it with. That is according to scoring. My goodness, Grant Davis absolutely putting on a display here today, trying to capture another overall win, while Ben Kelly out in front physically tries to play runaway and hide to pick up another win and maybe extend that points lead going into round number 8 in the Mason-Dixon in a couple of weeks. How's it all going to play out? Pit stops in the books. Lot to be sorted out. We'll be right back on Racer TV in just a moment.
On Track School is an online private school catering to some of the top athletes in the world. We offer a flexible schedule for students that are chasing their dreams and always on the go. We are an accredited K-12 school where students can graduate with a diploma. Scan the QR code or call us to book an appointment with one of our learning coaches to discuss your students' next steps.
Check it out.
We've been there since the very beginning.
20 left, the main event, the blood, the beer.
Organizing the industry and building champions. "100 years of defending your rights to ride into the future."
Yeah, welcome back to GNCC Live here on RacerTV.com. We had the 3-on-3 basketball tournament last night. You know you're in Indiana win. Hey, girl got game. That's Caitlin Clark right there. These kids having a heck of a time. Look at that, getting the shots. Scott, huge shout out to Scott, man. The jerseys, that's as cool as it is. She said, dab it up, bro. Kid getting it done with a mullet. That was an assist. For 2, look at the form. I love it. That was cool. And then, if you're under probably, 4 or 5 years old, this is the main event of GNCC, the Stakes at Grace.
Facts. All the way down to the 2 and under class.
That's insane. As Griff Cotter shouts the 2 and under division.
Look at that. Caleb Russell's son leading the way. Tongue out. Saw a picture of that on Instagram yesterday. Levi Baylor, if found, please return to the Kawasaki Semi on the back of the T-shirt.
That just shows the community that is GNCC Racing. These kids are just, they're on the loose all weekend.
Oh,
pile
up.
That's a bottleneck. It may not be a bottleneck live, but it is a bottleneck.
Oh, my God. But, yeah, just a great time all around. Uncle Johnny, who's going to be the fastest Russell kid?
Collins.
Oh, all right, boys. Adam Gordon, save that little clip so we can replay that.
Crew Russell grabbed the win today in that
That's
65.
2 in a row for him?
No, he was on the podium last race.
That's right.
But he grabbed the win today, so that was pretty cool for him.
Collins, bad. I like
Look at this. There is Grant Davis. I think he's a little closer than 16 seconds, folks. I think he has made up some time on Ben Kelly.
You can see Ben Kelly on the top left of your screen, going out of view now, keeping this drawn here on Grant Davis. Man, Grant Davis is a wild rider. He lets that thing all hang out.
Fun to watch, and, I mean, doesn't matter off-road, moto, if you can see that guy a turn ahead of you, you know you can catch him.
It's on.
It's on now.
He started 1 minute and 2 seconds behind. It looks like he's about maybe 7 or 8 seconds behind now. So he's done the hard part. He's made up 57 seconds. You know, he's just got that last 7 or 8 to make up.
And we saw Grant Davis in similar positions to this before, as Ben Kelly on screen now. We saw Grant Davis similar positions, not quite like this, but similar, and having some troubles towards the end of the race. It always seems like something happens to him. Might be because of that wild riding style that we talked about. We'll see if he's able to hold it on this entire time. It's going to be hard to get a minute against a rider like Davis in this position.
Yeah, I mean, Ben Kelly, we used to call him the Diesel. You know, we've called him a whole different, array of things. But the bottom line is the dude is an absolute beast. He seems to get stronger as the races go on. I don't think anyone would be very wise to ever question his fitness, but Grant Davis trains with Ben Kelly. They have the same trainer, the same facility, the same access to programs, and Grant Davis the last couple of years has really kind of embraced the grind. We've talked about this before. He had a lot of speed, but he was one that kind of didn't want to get up early, he would do the work, but he was not at all enthusiastic about it. He would complain, and we saw the switch honestly, before the season last year, even before the season got started, it was like, I want to be here. This is an awesome opportunity for me. And it translated to what a year he had last year and has continued to have this year. So, sometimes at home, kids, you just got to embrace the suck.
It's 100%.
Nothing about the training is fun. Nothing about the gym sessions. Nothing about even the riding during the week. Nothing about the cycles. It's hard. It sucks, but it makes race day go a whole lot smoother. And right now, the guys that are doing it the best are the XC3 guys overall. But, Ben Kelly physically leading the way and Grant Davis trying to run him down.
So if you're Ben Kelly, you just, like right now, Johnny, it's not, Ben doesn't want to run so fast that he forces himself into a mistake. So if you're Ben in this situation, is it, hey, I need to go fast, but I need to be methodical about it and just not hope that Grant makes a mistake behind you, but hope that you pull away enough.
I don't want to
save some for late.
I don't want to put any juju on Ben Kelly.
On wood.
But obviously he has crashed and been injured. But Ben Kelly isn't the push too hard and go down guy.
Yeah.
Like he is really good at running within his limits, even if that is incredibly fast. That's kind of his MO. He doesn't make the mistakes.
Right.
He's smooth, and I think right now we're seeing how wild Grant Davis looks, but he is also normally has a lot of flow. He kind of lets it hang out, but he's not a out of control rider by any stretch of the imagination. So we're seeing kind of two different styles, but I think Ben Kelly's going as fast as he can right now, and I think so is Grant Davis. I don't think either one of these guys are holding anything back at all. I think this is full push. They have different riding styles, but this is 100% for both of them.
So we saw our second and third making their way through there. Reardon and Barnes now seeing the number 3 machine making his way through of Jordan Ashburn here at the creek. But it's still a battle there for that second place spot in the XC2 and what will be the overall second place as of right now with Reardon and Barnes.
Yeah, looking at those last lap times with a 23:47 and a 23:44 for Reardon and Barnes, they were both actually slower than Ben Kelly. So here's, we haven't talked about this yet. Ben Kelly did actually have the fastest lap time last lap. He was only less than 1 full second, about 0.7 of a second faster than Grant Davis. But if you're Ben Kelly, finally someone other than Grant Davis with the fastest lap time. So he has proven he has the speed to outpace Davis. But right now, with a deficit of laps time of 31:28 for Grant Davis and 32:14. Yeah, I mean, he's got upwards of 50 seconds that he still needs to make up if he wants to put himself back in the position to be able to win the overall here today after time correction.
Yeah, something gonna have to change if he wants up to that top spot, as now we see him on screen once again, the 530 KTM machine. Ben Kelly continuing to lead the way, and now seeing our XC2 assassin here of Grant Davis making his way through.
Yeah, it looked like it was about 7 seconds, give or take, to me. So what was 16, now down to 7. So Grant Davis definitely making up time so far through the first 7 miles of lap number 5.
Johnny, I got to ask, what has started is almost a friendly joke, if you will, talking about the rivalry brewing between Ben Kelly and Grant Davis, and in the training partner aspect of it, all of a sudden they're battling for wins for one another. Do you think there's a little extra emphasis on Grant Davis's desire to catch Ben Kelly? Do you think maybe he saw that was who was in the lead instead of Stu Baylor now, and it almost lit a little extra fire underneath him?
I actually don't. I think that Grant Davis just wants to win, and I think so does Ben Kelly. I think all these guys want to win. I don't really think either of those two, I could be wrong, I don't spend as much time with them as I used to, but I don't think there's any animosity, or, you know, you always say you want to beat your teammate,
right.
But the reality of it is, when you're racing for wins, overall wins, you don't necessarily care who you're racing. Look at that. Jordan Ashburn has dropped back a bit. And again, shout out to Liam Draper, up now to that number 2 spot in XC1 and 5th place overall. He's on a charge, and he's not that far behind that group that, well, the riders ahead of him, which are Ben Kelly and Grant Davis. But my personal opinion, you'd have to ask him on the podium, but I don't think that at this point Grant Davis cares if that's Ben Kelly in front of him, or if it's Jordan Ashburn, or it's Thad Duvall, or who it is. I think if there's somebody in front of him, whether it be physically or on time correction, he's going for it, and same goes for Ben Kelly. I think he probably knows it's Davis behind him, but he is just going as fast as he can go.
Well, and there's a lot of props given on the podium between the two of them as well. There's definitely a desire to beat one another, but props being given and accountability on one another, whether it's Grant missing out on it or Ben Kelly not quite having enough, as we see.
We talk about no mistakes, but Ben Kelly definitely pushing. You see the back end stepping out there, and these guys, this is one of those sections where they can just take over. Quick look across the banners there, and they can see each other. They know what the gap is, and if you're Grant Davis, it's got to be kind of reassuring seeing Ben Kelly right there. And obviously at this point, he knows that's the overall leader physically. He knows he's got this handled. If you're Ben Kelly and you see Grant there and you're not gaining any time back on him, it's going to start to mess with your mind a little bit. We still got time left. This will just be 5 laps complete, 2 more to go. But yeah, if you're Ben Kelly, you've got to draw some time back this lap. He was able to do less than 1 second last lap, but he was to the good, was to the positive. This lap, Grant Davis so far has been faster and gotten closer. That's going to, I believe, could potentially take some wind out of Ben Kelly's sails. There's Gus Reardon. That is your second place in XC2, and just behind him, there's Cody Barnes. They have both now gotten around Mike Witkowski. It looked like Gus was behind Mike for several miles last lap, which actually allowed Cody to catch up. Now they have both made their way around the number 8 Phoenix Honda. Jordan Ashburn now back to what would be 4th in that XC1 class.
All right. And it does look like Craig DeLong has been able to get around Stu Baylor as well.
Yep.
So should be expecting them here shortly.
And actually, shout out, that would now move Mike Witkowski up to an XC1 podium position, as he has gotten around Jordan Ashburn. So not an overall podium position, but he would be looking at, and that's got to be a rider that may be a little bit frustrated there, because he's had several of these XC1 podiums this year that did not translate into actual overall podiums. So there is Craig DeLong, and as Jackson pointed out, he has gotten around Stu Baylor, and
that was Stu that we just saw go by.
I believe Strang behind him.
Yeah, Josh Strang, it looked like, was in the mix there as well. And it looks like they've both gotten around Ricky Russell.
Waiting, watching. Here we go, back to the 530 machine. Here at the mile 9, making their way over the bridge, and there is Grant Davis.
That's, yeah, he's there.
He's there indeed. Not much time splitting those two whatsoever as we pop back here to our Yamaha Racing live drone. Keeping our eyes on the PA native Grant Davis on the big #1 machine.
Man, Ben Kelly, this has got to be such a, yeah, you can't get inside these guys' heads, but man, I've been out there, and you know, we all have it, something in life. You're giving it everything you possibly have, and you're doing all you can do, and whether it's, you know, an athletic achievement or you're going for a run or whatever, you know, and then there's just somebody that is either too close to you or just not quite hitting your goals. And you know, Ben Kelly just got to be starting to feel frustrated the way Grant Davis is able to just keep chipping away at that and get ever so closer to him. But you know, still holding on to that overall points lead. But I mean, today with a 6-point gap between the two of them, if Grant Davis is able to hold on for the win, and Reardon and Barnes are able to lock out that podium, that would bump Ben Kelly all the way back to 4th place overall, meaning it would be a 12-point advantage for Grant Davis. He would then leave today with, as they run on screen, a 6-point advantage.
And that's going to help Reardon out a good bit, as well as it will Cody Barnes. Stu Baylor splitting those two, sitting 4th in the series points.
And that would be another XC1 win for Ben Kelly that winds up not even on the overall podium. We had the same thing happen at our opening round as well, and that was kind of the big takeaway in his interview was, man, this is not what I'm paid for. I'm paid for these overall podiums.
Yeah, there we see Witkowski just behind his teammate Cody Barnes and also Gus Reardon. We'll wait and see if we get, because it looked like there was a battle brewing behind this group here that included, again, Ricky Russell, Craig DeLong. So there's Ashburn, that is 4th in that XC1 class and now 7th overall. But the Ricky Russell, Stu Baylor, Craig DeLong, Josh Strang battle, and it was hard to tell, but it looked like Caleb Russell might have actually been in that battle as well. He was a good ways back behind them. Well, actually, yeah, was a decent little ways back behind them, but I think he may have made up that gap. So here comes, that is your 5th place rider now, Craig DeLong. There is Strang. That would be 6th in XC1. Seemed a little closer. See if we see, and there is Baylor. That's 7th. There is Ricky Russell. That is 8th. So there's your top 8 now checked through in the XC1 class.
Man, and shout out JoJo Cunningham and Gavin Simon once again climbing.
Continuing to pick up positions. And there is Caleb Russell. So he has almost gotten to the rear of that battle for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Man, Cunningham and Simon, let's take a look at those lap times because they have got to be putting in some burners. Yeah, I mean, they are, last lap, they were 24:19 and 24:09 for JoJo Cunningham. I mean, they were just a few seconds off some of the top 5 lap times of XC1 and XC2 riders.
Here we go. Our lead rider is going to check in now. Ben Kelly making his way through timing and scoring, and now Grant Davis is going to check in as well. So another lap complete. 5 laps now going to be complete for Ben Kelly and Grant Davis.
as the time correction works itself out, we'll take a look. Grant Davis able to go 7 seconds faster than Ben Kelly, so he was able to get it ever so much closer to the rear wheel with the elapsed time. Ben Kelly 156.03, 155.10.
Physically only about, what is this? 9 seconds, the difference between when they scanned in, Johnny.
There you go. So Ben Kelly on screen, a little wide there in that corner.
And Grant Davis making his way through. There's just some more riders. I believe OPAG going to get us a breakdown here in just a second on some of these timing and scoring.
Hey, they hadn't gotten a glance at one another. They went direct opposite just a minute ago. Kelly, a look over.
And you have to imagine he definitely knows who it is by now, and he's definitely had to have gotten some pit board, some kind of word on what is going on, what's the case here. Waiting for Cody Barnes to check in to see if he's going to jump back up there. And he does check in, and Ben Kelly able to take away that third place spot there on the overall charts.
By 3 seconds, and he's actually only 4/10 of a second behind Gus Reardon now for the second place overall position. So that's big for him. Obviously, he's got near a minute that he needs to make up on Grant Davis through these next 2 laps of racing. But with only 4/10 of a second that he needs to make up on Gus Reardon, if he's able to do that, that would be huge for the points, because it would mean he would leave here as the points leader if he can get second place overall today. Obviously, still going for the win. He's not giving up. But if he's not able to make the time back on Grant Davis, second place would allow him to leave here with a 1-point advantage over Grant Davis. Anything worse than that, and Grant Davis takes over the points lead.
Man, taking a look at the lap times on screen, Grant Davis just on another level right now as Ben Kelly a couple of seconds behind. And then pretty consistent between Cody Barnes and Gus Reardon, only about a second. The difference in Reardon's favor.
And look how fast Davis and Kelly were versus everybody else. The only 2 that were sub 24 minutes there on that last lap. So going back to our live drone to the 530 machine of Ben Kelly. Going to make his way through the field. And so far, so good.
As waiting, there it is, the Landers Racing KTM.
He is
hard on that throttle.
He is getting closer, boys, no doubt about it. He is slowly but surely tracking him down. And man, what an accomplishment that would be for Grant Davis if he's able to track down Ben Kelly and physically overtake that lead spot.
Well, and you got to think, I mean, it's not only does he have that time difference, but I think to be able to physically beat all of these riders too, is if there was one more feather to put in the cap, the confidence, it's already pretty high for Grant Davis, but I think that's just something that's going to make him almost bulletproof when he's lining up.
Especially on a dry day like today, Johnny.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen looks like Liam Draper coming through on that 198 AmPro Yamaha just behind him. Second place in XC2. Gus Reardon. Did we miss? There's Barnes.
So Barnes, I think, lost a little bit of time. It looks like Wachowski might have gotten
that
back
might have
around
been
him.
Wachowski. Yeah, I don't think Barnes actually came through that shot unless he was ahead of Reardon, but I did not see him.
So there is Ben Kelly making his way through.
And just behind him.
He can see him now, no doubt about it.
Blood in the water for Grant Davis as he is hunting down Ben Kelly. Wait and see.
The overall lead, 52 seconds for Grant Davis right now is what he has over Gus Reardon. So it's about this 53-ish seconds that he has over Ben Kelly. But so he is still, 52 seconds. It's a big lead, but he's not out of the woods yet for the overall or the XC2 win, as Gus Reardon and Cody Barnes kind of lurking back there. Looked like Cody Barnes was only 2 seconds behind Reardon when they checked in, but we did not see him in that last camera shot. Leaders on screen.
Top 2 are through this FMF PowerPoint. Heading back now to mile 2 to catch the rest of our riders making their way through.
Here is Liam Draper
That is second place in XC1 and fifth place overall, just behind him. Oh, there's Barnes still right behind Reardon. Yep. Just missed him in that last camera shot. Wachowski looked like a lapped rider in between there. So Wachowski third place in XC1. Again, looking at another XC1 podium that wouldn't be an overall podium. Still, XC1 podium, nothing to shake a stick at. Some of the best riders in the world. And this year, it's just really showing, as good as these guys are, the XC2 guys are keeping them on their toes for sure.
There's Jordan Ashford now making his way by on the Flat Rock Motor Club gas machine.
Jordan doing some hard enduro in the off weekend. Well, man, this is certainly shaping up to be a great race as Grant Davis trying to physically take the lead away from Ben Kelly. How's it all going to shake up? We're going to get a quick word from our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll see how things out here for this round 7, the AMSOIL Hoosier GNCC live here on RacerTV.com. We'll be right back.
Every generation believes they've invented the best way. With age comes wisdom. We've come to realize that every piece of knowledge is learned, passed down from those generous and patient enough to teach. Legacy. It's not about leaving something behind to be remembered by. It's realizing that the future lies within the next generation.
Let's call them out. All right.
The nature of true progress is humbly building something bigger than yourself. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. This is our legacy.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to RacerTV.com, round 7 of the 2025 Progressive GNCC Series. This is the AMSOIL Hoosier GNCC, and man, how about it? Had a little bit of hog roasting going on. Our very own Mike Nichols. That's DJ Judd, but that is the man himself, Mike Nichols, roasting up a hog for us. It was a Hawaiian t-shirt contest as well, and you can see we participate around here in GNCC. And man, just an absolute great time hanging out with the staff, celebrating a couple of birthdays, and celebrating being part of the GNCC Racing Nation.
The guy that won the contest, Scott Lowe, that's who gave us the pitter.
Oh, okay.
That's
yeah,
6 Suzuki transportation that I have since lost the number plate on. I think someone stole it, Sam Shaver. And then this was cool, guys. This was special.
Yeah, the Chamber of Commerce meeting to celebrate the Motocross of Nations coming here to Crawfordsville, Indiana, here at Ironman Raceway. And Mikey, being a local yourself, we talked about it. Don't get me wrong. The track's cool. The facility, amazing. But the way Crawfordsville as a community has embraced the sports, motocross, off-road, ATV, MX, as well as the crowd that it brings. I mean, I know we're a rowdy bunch, but it just seems like Crawfordsville welcomes us with open arms.
It's very interesting. I do some local radio work to pump up the races with Dave Peach. Shout out to 106.3 and 103.9. But yeah, I mean, it's almost our town is almost naive to how well they roll out the red carpet for us, and I try to emulate that to him on the radio broadcast. But thank you to Montgomery County. You guys, we travel all over the country, whether it's Pro Motocross Outdoor or it's a GNCC National, and yeah. You guys have seen it firsthand. Yeah. Crawfordsville does a great job of welcoming us with open arms, and can't think of a better place for the nations, man. It's gonna be wild.
It's gonna be an epic one. I got to talk about renting a spot in your front yard for the tent.
So, you're like perfect. The third entry for that.
That's fine.
So
that's fine.
It's filling up fast. I've got 2 acres for sale, folks.
Yeah, I don't know if you got. There goes Ben Kelly on screen now. And look at that, man. Flying is Grant Davis as he still holds on to that physical second place spot.
Yeah, he is right there within a couple of bike lengths now. You don't even have to use seconds to measure it.
And it was, I did see that OPAG coming through asking about that third place rider. Not sure who that was, but there was definitely somebody carrying a lot of speed, possibly one of our amateur riders. Maybe we can catch it here.
Whoa, look at this. Davis on the rear wheel. That just shows he is twisting the wick. That's 249.99 of the 250 cc's available there on that Landers Racing KTM. But that
into the
is
berm
kind
by
of
Davis.
Yeah, that's kind of the kryptonite, the overriding. He gets excited, wants to try to make it happen immediately, and makes a small little mistake, loses a couple of bike lengths, which could be huge here in this battle. Davis, there's no question now. Can he see him? Does he know how close he is? Yes and yes. He's trying to make it happen.
This is just for bragging rights here, guys. He does not have to pass him.
Yeah.
He can be 30 seconds behind, still going to take the overall win by a good bit.
Well, and I mean, I don't disagree with Johnny often, but I do. I think there's a bit of a personal point to prove. These guys, they train together. They're both considered some of the golden boys of the KTM group. They've got a lot to prove, and I think Davis wants to show, hey, I'm not just the XC2 reigning champ. I am the guy to beat out here at GNCC, and he's gotten a little more comfortable. All of a sudden, the podium interviews, they're joking a little bit harder, and so I think if he can physically overtake Ben Kelly, who, as we know, is in great shape, I mean, a picture-perfect GNCC racer as far as how he masters his craft, I think he's really going to know, man, I've beaten one of the best to ever do it, a former champion here in XC1, and to do it in these kinds of conditions, there's going to be no excuses. There's going to be no, oh, well, he got lucky about this or that. This is straight-up racing.
Yeah, and you got to think, too, you know, Ben is, I would say, prime age of his career for sure. He's had a gnarly injury that he's come back from, but Grant Davis is still young, and I can say this as an old man, he's still a boy, and when we're young like that, yeah, you want the overall win. You want those bragging rights. You can throw it all out the window. I'm going to go get the OA.
Well, and along with that youth, I think that's also where we,
young man.
Yeah, well, but that's also where we see some of that. I'm just going to leave the throttle wide open, and whatever happens, happens,
which is awesome.
And sometimes that's bitten Grant Davis, and so we saw in that situation right there, almost looped the machine out, which we almost never see. It just shows how hard he's pushing the limits and unwilling to let off the throttle.
Yeah, unwilling is a good word to use for it. Absolutely hanging everything out as we wait on our leaders here at the mile 6. Who knows, boys? It is just a matter of time. Till we see Grant Davis up in that top spot, and things continue to roll on this way. He's been able to close up Ben Kelly. He is right there with him now. No doubt about it. Ben knows he's there. We'll see if Ben can retaliate and put some time in between them.
Yeah, curious to see the way both of these riders play this. If you're Davis's team, got to think they're saying, hey, you have him on speed. Don't rush this pass. Let it come to you. Don't make a simple little mistake like we almost saw him do in that field section. But if you're Ben Kelly, you've also got to wonder, at what point do you acknowledge that, as we see Ben Kelly on screen, Grant Davis is going faster? We know these guys sometimes will let riders by, try to pace off of them, and get back around. Again, all for bragging rights, but you know at the end of the race, Ben Kelly would like to be the first rider through.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're the beneficiaries who get to sit back and watch it. It's just been incredible. It was interesting as Grant was closing in on Ben in that open field section. You had the KTM mechanics out there cheering both guys on and like pushing, like Grant push, go get him. So love it. It's just amazing.
Well, and cool to see as well, obviously, the KTM group losing a reigning champion, Johnny Terrar, who, Johnny, hope you're watching at home. We can't wait to have you back, get healed up. But for right now, yeah, this is just a great display of the present and the future here at KTM and that Landers Racing KTM group, running 1 and 2 consistently throughout this season with Davis and Reardon. And then, yeah, Barnes, excited to see whether he can try to get back on that OA 3 spot, because you talked to him earlier, Mikey, and that is a staple goal for him. Much. So you know the Phoenix Honda team letting him know, hey, you're just off the pace a little bit.
Yeah, Cody Barnes was all smiles. We were having fun. We joke always about this one being his home race. It is his home race. I'm not going to joke about it. It is. He's from Illinois. But the moment I brought up, you know, the OA situation, the smile went away. He got very serious. It was all business. And you could just tell it really means something to Cody Barnes.
It was Draper and Reardon making their way through. That was Mike Witkowski. Not sure if Barnes was just ahead of Witkowski. He was. So there we go. Now going to make our way back over to this creative section that Stu Baylor had. Not seeing anybody else take any lines like that. Everybody else choosing to stay on this main line here.
Yeah, I'd be curious to have just a split through this section to see whether or not that benefited Stu at all. But I at least have not seen any other riders picking up on that line. But Davis, maybe a little more nimble on the 250 through here. We had some questions earlier about the advantage versus disadvantage of a 450 or a 350 in Ben Kelly's case versus a 250, and I got to think there's a give and take for both bikes.
Yeah, And there's never, man, Caleb Russell is really famous for that. Like the smaller machines sometimes, and had some major success on it. And he's done that this year too, and not had the success on it. So it's always interesting.
Man, same camera shot right there. Can't see one without the other. Grant Davis trying to make it happen. It kind of seems like he is just slowly letting him reel in Ben Kelly. He's not taking any unnecessary shots or anything like that. And we talk about sometimes how two riders get together and it slows them down. It seems like it's the opposite with those two. They actually wick the pace back up.
They certainly have here late, 2 hours, 12 minutes in. Leaders do in here just under 7 minutes for a 6th lap completed, and a white flag will come out. And we wait to see, as you guys had mentioned, Ben Kelly, we believe he's up that pace enough to be sitting in the 2 spot, we believe. But Grant Davis, will he be your adjusted time leader, or will he go out and get that overall physical lead?
That's the question now, Mikey, as we sit here at the mile 7 marker. Going to be interesting to see exactly where Kelly is sitting in the overall charts after this lap, if he's going to be able to get ahead of Reardon as far as the time goes.
There is Draper, and then there is Gus Reardon. Barnes just ever so slightly falling off that trail. Needs to get back within a bike length. And oh no.
Man, the last thing you want to see, Stu Baylor coming into today sick. And guys, you know how that can do. You know the mental fatigue that somebody like Stu Baylor can be under. Man, absolutely hate to see that, and can't help but to think it, you know, some of that sickness and the mental side of it probably coming into play today big time for him.
Well, and the worst part, this looks like this may be a mechanical issue, as looks like they're working in the airbox of that Kawasaki.
Dusty day.
Well, and
oh boy,
and we have a new physical leader. We're getting reports on the back end of that. We'll try to stay in tune. I'm sure we'll keep a camera there, see what's going on with Stu. We were talking about that earlier. I asked Johnny, man, you think we'll have filter changes today? We didn't really anticipate it, but looking like it is that and more maybe for the 514.
Boys, look at that. Grant Davis, your new overall leader, and he has put a ton of time in a very short amount of time between himself and Ben Kelly. Back here to Stu Baylor, hoping that is just a mechanical issue.
Tell me right now, Stu is watching the broadcast and he's looking to see, can I get some points still today?
It's that or live timing. One of the
that or Grubhub. It's one of the.
He's not tweeting. I'll put it like that.
Yeah. No, this sucks, man. This absolutely sucks.
Well, and even Johnny was talking about it in our last commercial break, how tough Stu Baylor is to be out there doing this. We know he's under the weather, and those kinds of conditions. GNCC racing will drain you at your best, let alone being under the weather. But speaking of looking maybe not quite at their best, it looked like Ben Kelly showing a tiny bit of fatigue, or just maybe a bad corner for him there, as Grant Davis not only got around him, but had a few bike lengths between them as well already. So we'll see if Grant Davis is going to keep the fire burning and try to stretch things out over Ben Kelly.
We talked off air just before we came back from commercial. I promise you guys at home, we bench race even during commercial breaks. That would probably be a good show just to watch itself. But the potential possibility of this one being, it's going to be close, period, by the time we get to Snowshoe. The possibility of maybe even being tied, same amount of points heading into Snowshoe. It would provide a situation where Grant Davis would line up on row number 1 with Ben Kelly. Who knows? It's not scripted for those out there that want to be a conspiracy theorist, but man, that would be freaking cool. It's going to be cool nonetheless. I mean, all signs point to those two are going to line up on row 1 together regardless, but given that scenario, if they were tied, just absolutely crazy. Last race before summer break would be something special.
Well, and you've brought it up multiple times throughout the season, the thought of the overall championship. Oh, why do you call it that? It's the XC1 championship. Yeah. No, well, we were quickly realizing it's the overall championship, and now it looks like there are threats, and I say that plural, in the XC2 class that have what it takes to be in contention for that title. Grant Davis, right now, hard to argue that he's not one of the favorites.
Sure will make for an interesting banquet. Going to be.
Think they're rooming together on the cruise?
I'd say probably not.
So we did see our top riders just outside of those top 2 making their way by. There is Ricky Russell making his way by this FMF PowerPoint, as does Caleb Russell on the 557 and Pro Ride.
Caleb Russell coming back to life a little bit here late in this one. Caleb getting pretty real with his followers on social media after that last race. I think it's no secret how much Caleb asks of himself and his team and everyone around him. And, a little frustrated with himself and his performance after last weekend. And pretty cool to see a rider, especially with the rap sheet that Caleb has, still calling himself out and being accountable.
Such a valuable trait that he has.
Absolutely.
We're the real winners of that, to get to hear exactly what's going on. As we see Ben Kelly there, must have missed Grant Davis by just a little bit. Going to be cool, be interesting to see how far Davis has been able to pull off here from Ben Kelly.
Yeah, it really seems like he has dropped the hammer trying to get back around. Let's watch his handoff here.
17-6.
Beautiful technique.
Dialed.
All right.
Dialed. Did good, girl.
You can see her sigh of relief right there.
Thank God. Thank God. I hope that wasn't on TV. It was. We got you.
Oh, but going back to Stu Baylor here, guys, as we wait. Stu showing a ton of heart here today and continuing to, as he's under the weather, leading the way, showing he might not believe in Santa Claus, but he believes in himself, and having some troubles late in this one.
What's crazy is, outside of the main storyline, I guess, Grant Davis trying to get the overall win, Ben Kelly trying to stretch points lead out. Really, as you look at it, Kelly, Davis, Reardon, Barnes, they're all still going to be in that conversation for a championship. Stu, it's going to be tough for him after today, but Liam Draper, he's still going to be in that conversation as well. And, man, maybe start throwing... Well, Wachowski had a couple of off races, a couple of bad races coming into this one.
Look at this.
Man.
Reardon has gotten around Liam Draper, and Barnes had gotten right back to the rear wheel. So Barnes getting back into this thing, saw Reardon make the pass and said, oh, wait a second, I got to stay glued to him. We are going to the front. Here comes Mike Wachowski. It's so funny. We've talked about the consistency usually being more on the XC1 side of things, and yes, the XC2 class has been consistent as far as the top three. The variance has come in where they are overall. Sometimes that second to third in XC2 is fifth or sixth. Sometimes it's like it is right now where it's second and fourth, arguably fighting to be second and third.
It is, so they should be... Are they checked in? Yep. 14 seconds now until we expect our riders at the finish line, and can get you guys some times.
We won't have to get out the abacus, do the math.
A battle there between DeLong and Strain.
Coursing through the lap traffic and the dust. We know Grant Davis, physical leader on the track. See if we hopefully can get a shot of that coming through the finish. And they're a little off of the time they had last time around, but not going to matter for Grant Davis. He knows exactly where he's at.
There he is on screen now. That is your overall leader, Grant Davis, as well as your physical leader out on the course. The XC2 boys getting it done here today. Grant Davis, like we said, physically now in the lead of this one, as he is going to check in for what will be 6 laps complete.
And here it is, white flags waving. I can almost hear the here we go from Ricky Towery. And oh, look at this, a lap rider just holding Ben Kelly up ever so slightly.
And take a look at those lap times. Grant Davis checks in the number 1 spot with a 23:34 versus Ben Kelly's 23:45. So 11 seconds faster that last time around.
Yeah, at this point, it's just pace. Like Grant Davis just has more pace right now. Ben Kelly, we saw almost immediately falling a few bike lanes back. You see Grant Davis there looking back, and absolute heartbreak as we see Stu Baylor headed back to the back into the Rocky Mountain Red Bear rig. And again, on a day where already had arguably a valid excuse to not line up, giving it everything he had, and luck just not going Stu Baylor's way.
Yeah, it's just gut-wrenching. Just gut-wrenching.
So there goes the 530 machine of Ben Kelly, now going to make his way through. Zach Heron going to head down, see if he can get a word in real quick.
Take boxing gloves. No, Stu will be good. It's
sending the big man down.
That sucks. There's just no way around it. Yeah, entirely possible. Don't forget, Stu with the mechanical, also under the weather. So good possibility. We just get a word in with the crew down there, but nonetheless, just a heartbreaker for Stu. Be interesting to get his perspective if we're able to.
Man, Mike, it'd be nice to have one of those speed guns that the police carry around in a moment like this.
Open fields, it's just insane. We've had some blue groove in the past. I don't think we're going to quite hit that today, but man. Also cool, we haven't mentioned this. These guys, that's part of the moto track they're running, so kind of cool, like all the things going on out here at Ironman this year. We had Jackson and I called the ATVMX last weekend. We've got the GNCC Hoosier this weekend as we watch Grant Davis lead the way through the FMF PowerPoint. We have a Loretta's regional here next weekend. We've obviously got Pro Motocross Outdoor coming up, and then Donations, and then, of course, Ironman. But, man, really cool that Ryan Eccles and Jared Bolton set the track up. These guys got to run just a little bit of that moto track, so when we get that international history here later this year, everybody can sit at home and say, man, I was on that track this year. I got to race a little bit of it.
Yep, exactly. Crawfordsville going to be bombarded.
Holy smokes.
During the month of October, starting things off at the beginning with the MX of Nations. We hope everybody comes to that from the GNCC world. Love to have a big GNCC turnout there. And then following that, about 3 weeks later, going to have our Ironman GNCC, a huge GNCC race. So 2 big events back to back as we watch Grant Davis on screen.
Yeah, that's a good point. Our producer, Adam Gordon, OPAG, Tim Cotter put that in perspective for us. You guys are familiar with Ironman GNCC. Well, to put in perspective, the Nations is about 3 times that, the amount of people. Those are really kind of, yeah, I was going to say at least. That may be even on the light side. And just historic. I mean, that's a historic event.
So while we wait here for Grant Davis, take a look at that timing and scoring. Ben Kelly has done what he needed to do to get himself up into the 2nd place on the overall. That's going to put Reardon into the 3rd place spot in the overall, 2nd still in that XC2 with Cody Barnes just behind him, 4th overall, 3rd in class.
So the white flag is out 2.5 hours into this one. 6 laps completed. What'll be a 7-lap race with said and done. Grant Davis doing his thing out in front. Ben Kelly sitting in that 2 spot. How they sit in scoring was how they sat when it was flip-flopped, but now Grant Davis maybe with some bragging rights to take the physical overall, and Angus Reardon still hanging in there. Show some love to the other XC1 guys. Liam Draper sitting 2nd in that XC1 class, and Wachowski sitting 3rd in the XC1. And Jackson, you're down there with Zach doing those post-race interviews, and I got to think it almost reaches a point where when the XC1 guys are off of that overall podium, they turn it on a little bit as we watch our leader roll through there for the camera at least. But, I mean, are they kind of, a little dejected at that point? Yeah.
No doubt. Very aggravated down there. Almost hate to walk up to them and have to ask them some questions because no doubt about it, they want overall wins.
Yeah.
It's clear when you talk to Ben Kelly, especially somebody like Stu Baylor, they are very upset not to be up at the top of the charts.
So, take maybe you get you a pair of boxing gloves as well.
Yeah. Hey, if you can't be in first, no better place to be than 2nd.
That's right. And it's, it's hard to call it a problem because we're watching history in the making. And Grant Davis, man, you're part of that. Grant Davis was a sensational youth rider, but, it wasn't like he just ran away with youth overall wins like crazy. And he's a fit. He fits on this machine. He fits on the KTM. He's got a good team around him. His mechanic, Andy, one of a kind. He's got a few national championships under his belt with Jordan Ashburn in the XC1. Of course, Grant Davis in the XC2 last year, mechanic of the year. Just can't say enough about Grant. And sounds like Zach Heron standing by with a pair of boxing gloves with Stu Baylor.
All right, Stu Baylor not going to box me this time. He's going to let me live. But, Stu, dude, we hate seeing you like this, man. Take us through what happened. We knew you were under the weather coming into this race. You still suited up. You went out there putting on a hell of a performance. Now you're trackside. Take us through what happened.
Yeah, it was a bummer. Lap 1, I came through the pits, and I was giving them we got problems, like, right off the bat. And, just had no clutch and could not figure out what was going on. And just one thing led to another, and then I've got a quick connect on my battery and basically a backup battery system, the quick connect right here after the pits. It came unplugged. I think I left the pits still in second. I think third overall, but second there coming out of here. And yeah, just had that quick connect come loose. Luckily, I diagnosed that, figured out what it was, got back going. I think I was 6th, 7th place. But that clutch was just, man, I was really struggling at that point. I was trying to ride a little bit more aggressively and went down pretty hard in the field. And just one of those things. I pulled my clutch in. There was nothing there. I hit the throttle and went straight into the silt and spun around pretty quick. But yeah, I got going right there in that group with I believe Ricky, Caleb, a couple of those guys right there. But yeah, just man, it was fight. I was fighting as hard as I could to go to the front, and my bike was fighting as hard as it could to go to the back. And man, it won today. But yeah, it's frustrating, man. I know and I feel that I'm the fastest, the best I've ever been, and I think I've shown it the last few races. I mean, fuck, we've started, we've won, we've been up front every single day until issues take us out. But man, it's frustrating. Like I was sick as shit today. I was miserable. I could barely make it out, and you know, I did everything I could, and you know, I know for a fact that there's no such thing as luck. But it's one of those days right now where it's starting to make me question what I did and who I did it to. But yeah, I mean, I know for sure it's when preparation meets opportunity. And right now we got opportunity, and I feel that I'm prepared, but we're definitely unprepared somewhere. And right now it's just a matter of figuring it out and trying to get back to the front.
Well, Stu, we hate to see you trackside, but ultimately glad you're physically okay, and I hope you get feeling better.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that's Stu Baylor down here in the pits.
Hey.
Shout out. Oh, go ahead.
Very glad to hear that Stu Baylor was having a mechanical issue there, not a crash, because that's what I assumed when I first saw him. So glad to hear Stu Baylor going to go back to the drawing boards.
Just nuts. Shout out to All Heart right there. That's Stu Baylor. Got an update on his rider. I just peaked, or excuse me, not his rider, with Taylor Jones, the WXC Phoenix Honda rider. Just saw her post on Instagram. Don't look at that post if you're squeamish, but she's laid up watching Racer TV. So Taylor, wishing you a quick recovery. You are one bad chick, and we know you'll be back with us ASAP.
Yep, running in a podium spot in that WXC class on lap 1, and tough break for Taylor Jones here today.
Meanwhile, Grant Davis doing what Grant Davis has done really for the last couple of years, and certainly this year. Johnny Gallagher talks about what confidence can do for a rider after a good ride, and Grant had a couple of those last year, a few of those last year, and certainly said, whatever I did worked last year, let's do it again here, run it back in 2025, and he is inching closer and closer toward the overall points leader, Ben Kelly.
He is indeed. Less than 15 minutes till we expect to see a checkered flag in the hands of Mr. Ricky Towery. And we're going to see if Grant Davis can bring this one home here today. Ben Kelly, like we said, made his way up into that second place spot on the overall time. We'll see if Ben's able to hold on to that, or if Reardon's going to put in a last lap push here. He has got everybody out of his way physically, I do believe, as he has made his way around Draper. Last time we saw, there was Grant Davis, our leader, I do believe it was. Now seeing Ben Kelly making his way by.
So Ben Kelly's still on that rear wheel, and honestly, if you're Ben Kelly at this point, it's, you know, like, hey, even if I pass him at this point, I'm still in second as far as the overall is concerned. So it's kind of go ride your ride, hit your marks. If Grant has a get off or something, some mechanicals, some troubles, then you can push. But right now, Ben's probably just settled in.
Yeah, 62 seconds was the gap off the start rows. That would be a lot to make up in less than 13 minutes now.
So we get a bird's eye view of Grant Davis and just the riding style by this young man, the number 1, your defending champ out of that XC2 class. Is scoring number 922 for those that might be new to GNCC, wondering how that works. I like that. Grant just so hungry. You saw the look over the shoulder right there, Jackson. He wants to know still, where is Ben Kelly?
Dropping that elbow wide open. Saw the mechanic down there pointing at his head saying, think smart here in this one. Bring this one home. There's
Kelly in tow.
Staying right there with him.
Man, just incredible to watch. I'd say the field sections are the one spot where we can get a shot at a GNCC where it almost does justice to the speeds these guys carry through the woods and throughout a 3-hour GNCC. And this is after 2.5 hours of racing.
Yeah, that's one of the most mind-blowing parts about GNCC, how fast these riders can go after, just play riding for 2.5 hours. Little on doing what these guys are doing.
How wide that Grant Davis goes into these berms when he's out front, it is helping him, as you can see there. Ben Kelly almost having to check up a bit, make sure he gets through there, or just hold on and pray that he gets through some of these turns. The wind is it's still there, but not nearly what it was early today and yesterday. But those guys have hanging on and looking for that third place ride at Angus Reardon. And Cody Barnes hanging back there as well. They would be third and fourth in the OA, second and third in the XC2.
And last time we saw Reardon, he was sitting about 1 minute and 20 seconds back, so it might be just a second before we see him. Taking a look back on screen, and I believe still going to be waiting on Reardon.
Want to give a shout out your top amateur riders right now. JoJo Cunningham was well into the top 10 early in this one. He's dropped off just a little bit, not a lot of it, but a little bit, back to the 12th spot. Gavin Simon in the 14th in the OA had put him second as a top amateur, and Indiana native Van Adams out there running 19th in the overall, third top amateur. And there is Angus Reardon on screen moving through. And I got to give a shout out to Van. When I first started announcing races at locals, I think Van Adams, I don't think he was on a P-Dub, but maybe a 65. And we had like an autograph signing at a local race. And Van Adams, I'm 100% positive, Van, I still have your autograph from probably 2013, maybe. So shout out, dude. Now you're a grown-ass man out here doing a 3-hour GNCC.
Taking a look real quick, Mikey, at our XC3 class while we got just a second here at the mile 6 mark. It is Jonathan Johnson that leads the way over James Jenkin and Jason Crawford for your top 3 spots. Last time they checked in, Open A, like you said, Van Adams, Cole Whitmer, and Davin Cocker in that 3rd place spot. And going to take a look here while we got a second. Still believe I have not missed our leaders on screen. 258, Joseph Cunningham, JoJo Cunningham leading the way with Gavin Simon and Hunter Smith, your top 3. 158. It looks like it's Colby Goodman, Easton Uplinger, and Cade Stats that's going to be leading the way. And jumping back up to the top of the charts, we are under 10 minutes now till we should be expecting a checkered flag here at the AMSOIL Hoosier. Mikey, we're going to head down, go get some interviews going. We'll leave you to it.
All right. I'll hold it down. Johnny fell asleep out there. No, Johnny, by the way, for anybody that's ever wondered, Johnny does this for fun. He really does. Talk about a passionate man, but he'll be back. I have no doubt. He's probably sprinting here now. That's just how Johnny is. Or he's got a front row seat to watch Grant Davis go out and do what Grant Davis has done so well throughout this season. And, as I say that, Grant, let's see, round 1 and 8th, round 6, the 6th. Outside of that, we've seen him on the box, at least we've seen him on the box in the XC2 at least. But as far as that overall, you cannot say enough about this young man. Again, coming up through the youth ranks, excellent, always a podium contender, got some youth championships, but was never that kid that was just like, oh, he's going to run away with everything. But things in the XC2, once he's on that KTM, have just clicked for Grant. And it has been fun to watch this young man. Right there he is, the 922, number 1 on the jersey. And, you just can't say enough about him. Ben Kelly, maybe doing the wise thing today. Don't push. Johnny Gallagher made a good point about Ben. Ben is a great, very strategic, methodical rider, never rides above his head. And I think he was in a situation where, hey, Grant's going to take that overall. No reason to push and try to get right back around him. If Grant was able to makes a mistake or has a mechanical, something like that, Ben Kelly's there to capitalize. But nonetheless, Ben is just He's given it everything he's got for Grant Davis. You just cannot say enough about the young man. And Gus Reardon in that 3 spot. This is a race where he and Cody Barnes will continue to be talked about in the 2nd and 3rd place spots, but in or just off of overall podiums. So how much longer is Angus Reardon and Cody Barnes, quote-unquote, patient with not letting Grant Davis? They're certainly not letting the man out in front to win, but you know they're hungry. They want to be talked about in the same way that we're talking about Grant Davis. Angus Reardon right there, rolling through. And Liam Draper, Mike Wachowski, those guys have had some great rides today, albeit would be a 5th and a 6th place as far as the overall is concerned. As the rest of the XC1 continues to push pace, let's give a shout out. Josh Strang's had a pretty solid day for him as well. Sitting in that, he's at 8th place out on the track. Putting that beta machine on display. And Craig DeLong, Ricky Russell, Caleb Russell, tough day for him. Those guys back at the backside of that top 10 in the overall. Now watching the 8-mile mark at your FMF PowerPoint as we wait for the number 1 of Grant Davis out of that XC2. Just cannot say enough about this young man. They're already putting on a parade in Pennsylvania. They've got the floats made. We got to find out there goes Ben Kelly there buzzing around some lap traffic. And outside of, well, maybe Florida. Florida was toasty, but certainly Camp Coger was a hot one. This might have been the hottest race we've had this year. Be interesting to see how these guys are post-race. I don't think we're going to see those exhausted, almost lethargic interviews like we got at Camp Coker as they were pushing to the very end. But nonetheless, this was a toasty one. Those guys are going to be ready for some hydration when it's said and done. Waiting on Angus Reardon. Again, that gap last time they were around, looking back and forth here. It's about 1:20 was the gap. So Grant Davis and Ben Kelly absolutely putting on a clinic and checking out to another planet. They are almost to the Mason-Dixon in a couple of weeks. And is this Angus Reardon? Yes, it is, I believe. Maybe a little early. Okay. There's Gus Reardon. What up, Gus? Great ride, bro. He has been sensational. And Cody Barnes. We might have something there. We may have something between Angus Reardon and Cody Barnes. Was just talking about that. How long are those guys content taking 2 and 3? Well, Barnes, he wants to be in an overall podium. And as long as they've got the time gap back to the 198 AmPro of Liam Draper, Barnes right now fighting for that final podium position. So will Barnes be willing to lay it all out and maybe make a pass on Angus Reardon? So while Grant Davis and Ben Kelly do their thing out front, we'll monitor closely that battle for 3rd between Reardon and Barnes. Reardon the man out front. As, man, just everything past that, though, not completely sorted out in that XC1 class. But again, a podium on the line for Cody Barnes. He's on the XC2 podium. But we'll have to wait and see. But Grant Davis just trying to bring it home as Ben Kelly keeps pace. It's on the backside of the pro pits right here. And cutting through the woods here at the Shaver Family Farm. We're just about wrapping up a weekend here at the Hoosier GNCC. A lot of the staff going to be hanging out here through this next week. We've got a Loretta Lynn's regional qualifier coming up here this next weekend. I'll be here, by the way. Our good buddy Rodney Tomlin going to be calling that one with me. Looking forward to hanging out with Rodney for the weekend. Although I am going to leave him on Sunday. I'm heading for the Indy 500. So Rodney will get to punch some tickets to Loretta Lynn's coming up in August. Then Racer TV, of course, will be down for that one. But right now it's all about the Hoosier GNCC
and what the 922 at Grant Davis is doing out in front, making some GNCC history. And I know we've said it before. You guys may at home be getting tired of hearing it, but it was Dad talking to Johnny Gallagher and I at the GNCC banquet. Grant Davis wants to go for an overall championship, and not laughed, but kind of thought, that's a tall mountain to climb. And here we are, round number 7. We are over the halfway point of the season, and Grant Davis only going to be a few points out of that overall championship lead. Absolutely incredible from row number 2. Grant Davis trying to change the format of the GNCC banquet for 2025. And Ben Kelly sitting in that 2 spot just behind him. A decent point stay for both of those guys, but the one guy Ben needs to, or wants to finish in front of, not looking like it's going to happen. And Grant Davis thinking the one guy I need to finish in front of, trying to get that job done here today. About less than 30 seconds away from getting a checkered flag in this one. Zach Herron and Jackson Burrell heading down to the podium to get a word in with our winners. And looking like it's going to be the 922 or the number 1 out of that XC2 class of Grant Davis, as Ben Kelly sits in that 2 spot. And the battle to watch, hopefully we're able to catch that one through the finish, will be between Gus Reardon and Cody Barnes. Liam Draper sitting in the 3 spot in the XC1, and Wachowski sitting in 3rd in the XC1. So the former Indiana, or the Indiana native, I should say, Mike Wachowski, looking at an XC1 podium. Be a solid day for him and the Phoenix Racing Honda team. Keeping our eyes out for the 922 right here, the number 1 of Grant Davis. And he's late. He's late. He's almost a minute off of his pace. Did something happen to Grant? He's keeping it spicy. Keeping it spicy here late. There it is, the checkup from the neck up. In good shape. Ready to bring this one home. We have just watched him do sensational things here today. Finally pops out of the woods. So if you had a mistake, it wasn't major. As Grant is on his way, another checkup from the neck up. The goggles are off, and it doesn't matter. That's the number 1, your overall leader. Grant Davis going to bring it in for the win in the XC2 class. And absolutely stoked, and by all means should be. So Grant Davis takes the overall win here at the Hoosier GNCC. He's going to get a word in with Jackson Burrell and Zach Herron, and there is Ben Kelly, the 530, checking in right there. And it's going to be a head nod and a congratulations, a fist bump. But you know Ben wants the overall. He's been very adamant about that. In his post-race interviews, he said, I'm not here for podiums, I'm here for wins. Now there's Pop and Mom to congratulate Grant Davis on the overall win. And that's Dad. That's Dad that was saying, hey, he's going for an OA from row 2, and he's making it happen right here. And how about that? There is Ben for that 2 spot. So here's the battle we were talking about. Angus Reardon in the 3 spot. Cody Barnes back in 4th place. Barnes throwing everything at him but the kitchen sink. Barnes a different line choice. Oh, they're coming to the last turn, and down goes Barnes. So Barnes going for it late, not going to matter. Angus Reardon going to hang on for 3rd place. But man, you've got to hand it to the effort right there by Cody Barnes. Will end up 4th. But that was a hell of a finish for both of those guys. Angus Reardon able to hold them off, and my hat is off to Cody Barnes. On that Phoenix Racing Honda, you can tell just dejected right there. The podium, the overall podium, so close right there for Cody Barnes, but he will have to, I'm going to not say settle, he will take a 3rd in the XC2. He will take a 4th in the overall. And if anybody's got a long couple of weeks between the Hoosier GNCC and the Mason-Dixon GNCC in a couple of weeks, I think it's going to be Cody Barnes. And I'm throwing it out there right now. Cody Barnes is getting a top 3 OA at the Mason-Dixon, because that man is going to be motivated after that finish. This one is going to replay in his dreams or his nightmares tonight of just how close he was to making that one happen. Grant Davis getting some of the dust washed out of his eyes. And there's his mechanic, Andy. That's a man who knows a few things about setting up a good bike to last 3 hours and knows a thing or two about capturing some national championships and collecting some #1 plates, as Zach Herron's standing by waiting to get a word in with him. We'll have that here in just a moment. Let Grant get himself dialed. But, man, just what a race. What a race. Grant Davis grabs a win out of the XC2 class. Ben Kelly, going to be interesting to talk to him. We heard Jackson Burrell comment on it. I said, these guys, they turned it on pretty well for the post-race interview, to talk about the race and thank their sponsors. I said, but I got to think these XC1 guys a little dejected off camera. He said, yeah, they're not happy about it. They want to get this thing figured out. Haven't been able to do so yet, at least not on a consistent basis. And the XC2 prevails again here today, with Grant Davis taking the overall win. So standing by for an interview with Grant. Angus Reardon, heck of a ride by him today as well, holding off a charging Cody Barnes. So we wait, see Steve Hatch down there celebrating with Grant Davis as well. Take a look while we're waiting on those interviews to get set up here. It's Grant Davis first, Kelly second, Reardon third, Barnes fourth. Draper has checked in the #5 spot. So that'll be your 5th OA. Mike Wachowski going to take 6th. Josh Strang 7th. 8th going to be Jordan Ashburn. 9th is Craig DeLong. And Caleb Russell rounding out your top 10 as we wait on that podium or that top 3 interviews to get set up. JoJo Cunningham, still waiting on him. He is working on a top amateur honor with out of the 250A class. Gavin Simon, a 14th in the overall, a 2nd in that class. And Van Adams would be your top 3 amateur on the day, and he would take a win if he can hang on out of that open A class. So, not sure what we're waiting on, but we're waiting. All right, sounds like Zach Herron standing by with Grant Davis.
All right, thanks, guys. Yeah, we are down here with not only your overall winner on corrected time, but physically the first man to the finish line. Grant, I know you've been talking about how much this means to you, how hard you've been working to not only beat these guys on the clock, but straight up as well. You get the job done today, man. Take us through it.
Yeah, honestly, I've been working so hard all year, and I've been pretty pissed off the last couple races that I've been losing them overall wins. But, Ben just gets it to me that last lap every time, and these last 2 weeks I've just been working on myself, trying to figure out what I can do different and get that done. And I normally get up to the XC1 guys, take a breather, and then just try to start past them. This time I just got to them, and I was just hammering them. I was trying to get around them as fast as I could, and I got like 10 seconds behind Ben, and then I took a little breather, and then I caught him, and he let me by, actually, which was really nice. And then started getting a little gap on him, and then last lap I hit a little water hole, and I completely ruined my goggles, so I had to swap my goggles out, and I actually ran the whole last lap without goggles, like Johnny G style. And but other than that, I'm pumped on the day.
Matt, now we talk about certain conditions favoring the XC2 class. To my knowledge, this is not the conditions that a lot of people were expecting you to get this done in. What was working for you? How did you feel like you were able to slide through the field so easily?
This paddle tire I got on the back is the move, I'm telling you.
All right, so we knew bike setup was going to be key. You had things figured out, huh?
Yeah, I worked with the WP guys a couple weeks ago, right before Ohio, and I got a bunch of stuff figured out. Ohio, obviously, I didn't show that, and I rode pretty bad there. But other than that, this weekend I was pretty mad, and I'm like, I'm either winning or I'm going to be dead. So other than that, I pulled it off, and I didn't even hit the ground once today, so I'm pumped on that.
Checkers are records, and Grant Davis comes out on top. Your overall winner on corrected time and physically.
Well, huge congratulations to him. How about that, Johnny? You know, he spoke about he made adjustments, and it's kind of hard to look from outside looking in. It was like, what the heck did you have to adjust? But Grant Davis making some adjustments, said he worked with the WP guys. He ran the paddle tire today, and just things paying off for Grant.
Yeah, that's just insane to me, running the paddle tire in these conditions. But I mean, what do you do? He won the overall. So right. It's like, it blows my mind that he would make that choice, but it worked.
It worked, and it sounds like Jackson Burrell standing by with Ben Kelly.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with Ben Kelly. Ben, second overall here today. I know you want that top spot, but if you can't be first, second place is the place you want to be. Take us through your day.
Yeah, it was a tough day. Track was just tough. Had a decent start and got my way into the lead there around lap 2 or 3 or something like that. Kind of just like fought by Stu, just ripped like a little bit of an outside line, and he kind of spun out just enough to where I was able to just pin it, and I think I caught him off guard. We kind of rubbed a little, but it was slow speed, so it was nothing major. I didn't even expect to pass him there, to be honest. It just worked out since he slid out and I was in a different line, and yeah, tried to charge from there. I felt pretty good the first 3/4 of the race, but then those last 2 laps I was struggling. Track was really fast and really rough and hard, and man, I was sliding and getting kicked and bucked all over the place, and yeah, I did the best I could. Like, I had like 15 seconds on Grant. Well, he was only 15 seconds behind me, so he already had me in the overall, but yeah, I tried to push and, pull away, hoping that I could do something that last hour, but like I said, I struggled even worse, and yeah, once he caught me, I just did my thing for a few more miles, and yeah, kind of eventually just let him by, and because I was struggling, so I was hoping he would keep me rolling, and yeah, I was able to keep him in my sights the last lap and a half, and it was good because I had to fight to stay ahead of the other XC2 guys, and so yeah, overall P2, good rebound from that last race, but yeah, some good, some bad.
All right, guys, there you have it. Ben Kelly, your second place.
There you go. You can sense a little bit of frustration, but also recognizing that keeping himself in the championship points lead, although only 1 point now to spare over Grant Davis. So, folks, we have a barn burner at the top of the GNCC overall standings between our XC1 points leader and our XC2 points leader. 1 point separating them in the overall points right now.
Never too early to start talking about snowshoe. When those guys most likely going to be lining up on that same row, we'll have a major chance to talk about it later. We can't really go in depth right now, but does row 2 kind of play the advantage in that one when we get to it? It'll be interesting. Jackson Burrell standing by with, the hell of a finish by Gus Reardon, holding off Cody Barnes for third in the OA.
Yeah, guys, I'm here with Gus Reardon. Gus, third place overall, second place in the XC2, and a fight all the way down to the line. Take us through it.
Yeah, I was able to get the whole shot, first one in a long time, so I think my mechanic was pretty happy with that, and then crashed like an idiot, like a mile in, and just lost the front, then I was in 4th position, and then it was just hard to get that time back on Grant, but yeah, and then had Cody up my clacker the last half race, so that was stressing, then especially that last lap. He nearly dove up the inside of me then, but yeah, I was able to off.
How you feel going into the next one after this, Gus?
No, I feel good, ready to go, it should be fun.
There we go, Gus Reardon, your third place overall.
Well, there you go, click the plaque.
That was awesome. I got a new word to add to the vocabulary. I don't know, in America it doesn't mean much, so I'm going to say it. I'm adding clacker to the vernacular there. That was good. It might mean something somewhere else, but it don't mean much here, but I like it. Sounds like we're ready with our 4th place in the OA, I believe. I think we're standing by with Cody Barnes. Oh, 10-4. Sorry about that. My bad. No, we want that interview with Cody Barnes. Yeah, Johnny Gallagher was out and about on the track, but man, the finish between Reardon and Barnes, it was side by side into the woods, and they came out to the last open section, and you could tell that Barnes really going for it. He wants that top 3 OA. He's been very vocal about that, and just wasn't able to make it happen. And yeah, we're still waiting to see if we can get an interview with him. Let's touch on that while we have the time. Okay. Oh, 10-4. Oh, I see. Okay, so we're going to jump into the specialized race recap. If we can grab a Cody Barnes interview post-specialized recap, we can.
So I think we're ready to take you to the specialized race recap. Johnny, finally a race where it wasn't a mutter.
And it was anything but a mutter.
It was anything but. We've had dustier races, certainly. Boy, Stu Baylor, big Stu Baylor out there in front grabbing that whole shot and early lead. And this seemed like a day that kind of had Stu's name written all over it.
Yeah, I mean, he was impressive right off the start. Obviously shared with us before the race that he was under the weather coming in, but getting off to an early start or an early lead and putting himself in a great position to battle for the win here today.
Angus Reardon grabbing that whole shot out of the XC2 class, that Landers KTM whole shot. A couple little dabs right there, and this was just off to the races. And the man we've talked so much about, Grant Davis, was right there in the fight early.
Yeah, Brody Johnson with a great start as well.
And that XC3 class, I believe it was James Jenkins grabbing that whole shot on the 125 machine. That 337. Out there, as I always say, singing the song of our people. Nothing quite like the 125s.
Right.
Love it.
Premix for life. Stu Baylor leading the way. Evan Smith, shout out to him. A great ride early on in this one. Stu Baylor looking like he was going to take the opportunity to maybe pull some points back on these guys, keep himself in this championship hunt. Evan Smith there in the number 2 spot, but right from the rip, it was Grant Davis making up time to get closer and closer to the front, then Ben Kelly putting in a big charge. Right here, around the outside of Evan Smith, looking ahead just a few bike lengths on the track, seeing Stu Baylor. We saw Grant Davis getting wild.
Insane.
That's that paddle tire right there. Yep. That thing stepping out. But ultimately, when it came right down to the pit stops, Ben Kelly coming in, and this is where Grant Davis was actually right here able to make the pass for second place physically on the racetrack and getting himself up into this position here where he could see the physical leader just ahead of him, and then a heartbreaker.
Yeah, absolute heartbreaker. He was already under the weather. He mentioned in the post or the interview he had a gnarly get off prior to this, was able to a quick connect that he had to fix, and then you had they were in the air filter, air box, and that was it for Stu on the day.
Yeah, and that's a definite heartbreaker for him. But Grant Davis getting around Ben Kelly. Ben Kelly saying he just tried to keep him inside just in case, not only if anything would happen, but only a 5-second advantage for Ben Kelly over Gus Reardon when it came down to it at the finish line. So he needed that toe from Grant Davis to pull those points back. He was able to do it. Grant Davis coming in, checking in for not only a corrected time overall, but his first physical overall win in GNCC racing.
Yeah, coming through, the celebration was on at that point for Grant Davis. And here is a look at your top 10. Davis, Kelly, Reardon, Cody Barnes. He's going to lose some sleep after this one, Johnny. He was so close. This is going to be in his nightmares and in his dreams for the next couple of weeks. Draper, solid day out of that XC1. Mike Wachowski, Josh Strang, Ashburn, DeLong, and Caleb Russell finishing in 10th. You noticed Caleb had some speed there on the last lap. He just needed that the previous 6.
Yeah, something going on there early in the race, it seemed like, but putting in a charge at the end. But still, man, it was what a great, exciting day of racing.
It was crazy. It was everything we wanted and more. Johnny, real fast as we get ready to close out here, it's a 1-point difference now if our math is correct, heading into the next race. Ben Kelly with the advantage.
Yep.
We have the Mason-Dixon. We don't know how that one's going to sort out. Historically, it's been similar to conditions we have here, hot, dusty.
Yep.
But then the snowshoe. We head to the mountain where Grant Davis, most likely, unless some miracle happens, is lining up row 1 with Ben Kelly and 2 other guys, not sure who yet, but it's going to be mano a mano at that point. Is it an advantage at that one then to be in row 2, row 3, row 4?
Well, there isn't anything that could happen. As long as Grant Davis lines up, he'll be on row 1. He has enough points that even if he would, not putting it in the atmosphere, but if Mason-Dixon doesn't go well, he's still in the top 5 in points. They have a pretty good gap now at this point, but we'd love to see that tied or as close to it as possible. But yes, I mean, I think snowshoe is the one place where those advantages actually really come into play the most because it's smaller gaps. It's not a minute. It's 10 seconds between rows, and you can catch that so quickly. You can literally be, a mile in. You can be on the row in front of you, and now you're beating them. You just have to stay behind them. So it is a unique race. It is a unique setup, and I think it's going to bring some fireworks.
It certainly is. Are we going to be tied, completely tied by the time we get to that one? Bottom line is it's a 1 point gap. My big takeaway is
Okay, I'll just say this. I'll throw out a prediction instead of a takeaway. Cody Barnes, overall podium, Mason Dixon, calling it now.
My big takeaway is, as much as we've talked about XC2, we can't talk about them enough because they are absolutely on it right now. And Ben Kelly, seemingly like on a day like today, is the lone XC1 guy just fighting that fight, trying to wrestle those overall positions back away. All of the guys are trying, but right now Ben's the only guy that seems to have the stuff to do it, at least today. And it's turned everything on its ear.
It's crazy. It's been a historical season, 50 years of GNCC. Why would we expect anything else but a history-making season? That is going to wrap things up for us here at Racer TV. On behalf of... Oh, wait. We've got more races coming up.
But
Hastings,
there's more.
There's more. The Bagger Racing League, round number 3 and 4 in Hastings, Nebraska. That's going to be taking place on the 24th and 25th. And, of course, we've got the Mason-Dixon coming up on the 31st. And we'll roll into the month of June for the bike side. By the way, if you're here locally, we've got that Loretta Lynn's qualifier coming up next weekend as well. That'll be live in person, not live on Racer TV, but nonetheless, Loretta's is on the way, not too far from here. So on behalf of Jackson Burrell, Zach Herron, and Johnny Gallagher, our camera operators Matt, Leah, Josh, Adam, John, Kirsten, and Mike, our drone pilot Gabe Scholl, our engineer filmer Brian Risch, our manager Dan Reinhardt, official spotter Mike Holbert, our second engineer Jack Renner, our engineer in charge Jordan McFadden, our replay operator, and a belated happy birthday, Cam Cotter, director Don Hampton, producer Adam Gordon, and our executive producer Carrie Jo Russell. I'm Mikey Waynes, and you've been watching GNCC on RacerTV.com.